Hello there. What's up, guys? We got James, Sonia's here. What's up, Eric, Jeff and Wisco, Sweets, APOC, Joey, Dawn, and Michael W. What's up, guys? Hope you're well. Celia, MJ, and what's up, Mr. Mission Control, James, Sweets in the chat. I see you guys. Good evening. What's happening, folks? Thanks to all the folks who stayed up late last night helping tune in the audio. Appreciate that very much. I think we're good to go. The phone line broke again. I don't know what the hell's happening with that. It's some sort of conflict. What's up, David on the road? How you doing? Yeah, Greer. Yeah, 100%. How you doing? What's up? What's up? Getting ready to roll. Actually, we are late. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0 1 1 1 0
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we pick up where we left off last night because, well, tech issues still won't seem to go away. The phone line is down tonight. I'm not sure what happened. Everything dialed in fine, and then it just, as we were starting tonight, it broke. Anyway, the Discord is working, and this is going to be cool, and it's going to be fine. But I tell you what, there's some maddening things happening in the tech space, and I firmware. Yeah. Anyway, we'll tackle that another time. But tonight, of course, as the extension of last night, we're talking psionics and UFOs. And to sort of lead us back in, so there was a couple things that we began with last night, which were really important as part of this conversation goes, because we've got a whistleblower that's talking about this exact thing, okay? And I got the rundown on this, so I want to read a little bit of this to you just to get started so you understand why I'm talking about this in this context with psionics and UFOs. Of course, psionics being this, we'll start with Mick West as we did last night. Psionics, the fashionable thing now in ufology is psionics. You've never heard of it before because it's an invented term from 1950s science fiction combining psychic and electronics. And this is, again, Mick West, the chief debunker of, basically all things. And like I said last night, I'm not a team guy. I don't pick people to be, I'm Team Mick or I'm Team Jimmy or I'm Team Johnny. Look, I don't care, honestly. I love to hear conflicting ideas, people with different cases to make, and that's it. That's the way my mind works. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what Mick has to say. I want to hear what, John Greenwald Jr. of the Black Vault has to say. I want to hear what UFO Joe has to say. I want to hear what all of these people have to say, even if they disagree with each other. That's where the beauty of this conversation comes in. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear ideas, okay? Now, here's the wild part, okay? It starts with this. It starts with the term psionic, which is all the rage. Psionics, but it was, again, psionics was adopted by D&D in the 1970s, and I actually added, for some context here, because, well, I'm me, and I've got access to these source books, but first edition, AD&D Player's Handbook, released in 1978, in Appendix 1 was psionics, and I'll just read you the top paragraph. Psionics are various powers derived from the brain, and they enable characters so endowed to perform in ways which resemble magical abilities. If your DM opts Dungeon Master opts to include psionic abilities in your campaign, they will be determined for humans and possibly dwarves and halflings as follows. And there's the rules and how it starts and all the rest. Very rare. Okay, it was a very rare thing, and it was not supposed to be something that everybody had in Dungeons and Dragons, etc., so on. Okay, so it's a good place to start. Just so for the people who don't understand what psionics mean, it's basically psi abilities. It's telekinesis. It's ESP. It's all manner of things. Okay, but I want to read you a little bit of this from. Now, this is a recap from Grok, which is improving every day. It seems it's incredible if you guys haven't used it yet, which is X's AI. But listen to this. So there's a whistleblower by the name of Jake Barber. Okay, so psionics, as described by UFO whistleblower Jake Barber, refers to individuals with extraordinary psychic abilities. Okay, fair enough. Just like I said, such as telepathy, telekinesis, and other extrasensory capacities that he alleges the U.S. government employs to summon, communicate with, or even control unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP, commonly known as UFOs. Barber, a former U.S. Air Force veteran and helicopter pilot, claims to have personally witnessed these abilities during covert missions to retrieve crashed UAPs. According to him, psionics are individuals with a, quote, predisposition for extratemporal abilities and sensitivities, end quote, enabling them to interact with UAP in ways that transcend conventional scientific understanding. His assertions paint a provocative picture of human consciousness interfaced with advanced, possibly extraterrestrial technology, okay? And that starts us out pretty much where we need to be to line this up, because the question really becomes, do you believe that psi abilities in and of themselves are possible? Have they been exhibited to your satisfaction? Maybe you guys maybe have some of these things as premonitions or some extrasensory perception or what divination in some capacity. We've talked about all manner of this stuff over the years, right? But the wild part is that even though they say that this is pseudoscience to this moment, it feels like, to me, like the technological quickening, as I always call this, is really moving the human brain into that space, whether we want it or not. Things like Neuralink and some other things, right? Maybe non-invasive brain probes that will allow you to drive your Tesla car with your mind, okay? Literally with your mind, which seems like magic. It's not magic, it's technology. However, there's a fine line there, isn't it? With Arthur C. Clarke talking about technology and magic being sort of the temporal space in which you view it. So I don't know. All of this really strikes me as a very, very large maybe. All the maybes apply here to me. And like I said, so just if you guys don't know me, I'll restate it for the record. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not an experiencer per se. I have a lifelong interest in this, and this is something that's incredibly fascinating to me. And to hear some of these terms that I talked about, years ago with Dungeons and Dragons, psionics, and this type of stuff, I was playing when I was 10, 12 years old. That it's odd that some of these ideas kind of flow through and now are, paramount in the UFO space. Wild to me. But anyway, so back to Jake Barber real quick. We'll get to James. We'll take some calls early if you guys want to just jump into this, because I did do the additional intro yesterday. But there are some wild questions that come to mind as part of this. But anyway, supporting Barber's account is testimony from other military veterans, such as Adon Paul Bales. So I don't know if this is all true. I didn't have time to fact check this. I don't follow close enough to say whether it is or not. So if this is a hallucination, my apologies. But okay. So I won't read that. that actually, because I don't know if that's true. I'm not going to read that. Okay, so the concept of psionics isn't entirely novel. During the Cold War, the CIA's Project Stargate investigated psychic abilities, which we've always talked about on this show, like remote viewing, of course, for military purposes, which Lou Elizondo talked about in his book, that they were remote viewing terrorists, right? It's weird. The whole thing's really, really odd that this really seems to be a thing. Okay, like I said, you decide where you stand on the issue. It's not up to me. I'm trying to be as agnostic in all ways as possible. Anyway, so Barber's claims take this idea further, proposing that these psychic abilities are not just theoretical, but actively deployed to interact with UAP or UFOs. This aligns with Arthur C. Clarke's famous adage, as I said earlier, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Barber's psi powers might reflect a fusion of human potential and technology, terrestrial or extraterrestrial, that appears supernatural to the uninitiated. And so that's where we begin. There's a lot here. There's a lot to talk about, not just the Gary Gygax version of the psionics as they were really put into the original source book back in 1978, but this term, interestingly, into the zeitgeist in the UFO space. So what do you know about it? Do you think this stuff is possible? And exactly where do we go from here? And we've got some other stuff too as part of this, because you know me. My tinfoil tingles when I think about this stuff, especially with whistleblowers talking about these things. And not because I don't believe people, because the government has kind of given their DOPSR approval for some of this stuff to come out. And it's just, like I said, any kind of actual CIA level disclosure makes my tinfoil tingle as just the base version of this. So anyway, what do you know about it? What do you think about summoning UFOs, CE5 or psionics in this capacity? And we'll get to that PSYOP bit in just a second here. But before we do that, we're going to get to James in a moment, but we're going to take a quick break and get a word from our sponsor. In this case, Human Inspiration. 1 minute. We'll be right back with more Troubled Minds. Don't go anywhere. More on the way. In a world increasingly shaped by AI, Human Inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support Human Inspiration. Available now on iTunes. Have you checked out that track, by the way? Please do that if you have not as of yet. A great song. As you can tell, there's a little bit of it in the commercial there. Thank you to Ray K for, again, sponsoring the show and sharing some amazing music with us. Human Inspiration will indeed last forever, regardless of the AI incursion here. Okay, back to this. Now, back to psionics and UFOs. Like I said, I'll try and get the phone working during the bottom of the hour here. I'll try it one more time, but like it was working, and then it just dropped, and then it came back up. So I'll try it again, MJ. I see you there. I'll try and make this work. But basically, the whole idea of this show is just to get regular people talking about extraordinary things. And so that puts us pretty much exactly where we need to be. James is going to sit in with us tonight. He said that he was had a fantastic interest in this and wanted to be part of this. So, James, the glue of the show, Salcedo Paranormal. What's up, brother? Welcome to the thing. Thanks for being patient as I rambled on to get us started. How are you, sir? And what's on your mind with this psionics and UFOs? Go right ahead.
I'm okay. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
Loud and clear. You sound good.
Good. Yeah. As I mentioned sort of in the chat, I think, maybe it was more in the voice chat last night during the testing and the ongoing conversation that lasted until this morning, which is always amazing, over in the Discord. The first time I heard of that was with Marvel Comics, with the characters from the X-Men, mostly these, amazing enough, people that were born with and developed abilities. And in the case of psionics, it has to do with, again, powers of the mind. And this is something that, again, as you mentioned, it was in Dungeons and Dragons, and it was in the comics in the early 60s. And to me, what the most amazing part of all this is that I think if you go back and look at accounts of just anomalous experiences, and you can find reports of people that have had abilities or had experiences with abilities, maybe not always in control of them, but I'm sure you can find accounts of these people having these experiences going quite a ways back. And I wonder how much of that is sort of filtered through other lenses when it comes to cultures and things like that may not may have different names for all these things. Not that I'm putting them down in any way, just that words, as I always say, are hard. And so we know that words can be used for the same thing or different things. So yeah, just the idea that this is something that may have been happening, that people may have the ability to use or to do throughout time up until today. And then, of course, with technology, that's going to change everything as well.
Yeah, it is strange how those ideas, the old ideas and the new ideas kind of come together, almost as if we've been sort of manifesting or pressing this into the technological space forever. And again, you know, there's news breaking all the time now with this AI stuff, you know, this quickening, as I'm calling it, that something just dropped today that was something about, you know, we just figured out how to reverse cellular aging, you know, just kind of casually dropped the article out there. And is it, you know, is that clickbait? Is that for real? Is that, I mean, there's some wild claims being made as far as this type of stuff, and we're still in the infancy of this sort of acceleration of the AI systems yet. So who knows? Who really knows what this looks like? But for sure, this is an ancient idea of again going out into nature and summoning things to you, bringing things to you. And I don't know, like that's another weird angle of this when you talk about Stephen Greer. CE5, which is a Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which is, again, through some sort of meditative effort, summoning entities to you, bringing the contact to you by asking for it. It's an odd thing. And I wanted to ask you about this too, James, your take on that. And I want to talk about the PSYOP part of this, because this is incredibly important to this conversation, because as usual, you can look at this a ton of different ways, and without doing Troubled Minds without the PSYOP angle seems insufficient, if you know what I mean. But go ahead with your take on that, the CE5 stuff.
Yeah, I think with, like I said, I think there's been so many people throughout time that may have had experiences with doing things and maybe even summoning things without meaning to. I don't think that we're always in control of these abilities. I've had experience with that myself a couple of times over the years, where I've heard literally in my mind thoughts from other people. And it was just mundane things. It was nothing. Luckily, it was nothing private or terrifying or whatever. And it just came for a second or two and then went. And I was just in this really relaxed state, listening to things, in between listening to things actually. So it was quiet in my apartment, and boom! It was just the weirdest thing. These voices that I sort of recognized from around my area came in from my head, from my mind. And then they faded out again. And so I just wonder how often these things happen, and maybe even people summon things without even meaning to. But then when you go to the summoning intentionally, I think if we can do it accidentally, then why couldn't people do it intentionally?
Yeah, absolutely. Which is a lot to unpack and really get into, which we will tonight. This is the whole point of the show, is to talk to people, long form conversation, old school Art Bell style was exactly the premise of this when we started it. We're lucky enough to have met such a batch of amazing people. James is going to sit in with us tonight. Again, Salcedo Paranormal is the name of his show. TroubledMinds.org. Click the Discord link. Come say hi. Come meet James. And also TroubledMinds.org/friends. It says James here. Go check out all his links. We got a call. Let's go to the call here, because I want to make sure that we get some folks in early. Sonia had her hand up right out of the gate, and I know she goes to bed a little bit earlier. So let's get Sonia is a bot from the Discord. What's going on, Sonia? Welcome back. How are you? Just jump on the stage, unmute, and you're on Troubled Minds. How are you doing? And go right ahead.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. You're coming through great.
Okay, great. I was just thinking about what James just said, and people sometimes, nobody can control whenever they can foresee things, and whenever they're spoken to from entities that aren't here, and I've had several experiences with that. And when James said that he had heard from people, and I'd had a little bit of contact with the people on here on Discord, I hope that he had never heard from me and not said anything if he had, because everything's just pretty bizarre whenever you can hear in a different dimension. I recently moved to Indiana and then stayed there about a year and then moved back to Denver. And I left behind a box that one of my aunts, my great aunts, my dad's aunt, who had contacted me during a viewing of my grandmother who had passed. She asked if anybody had found the box in my grandmother's house, and I just happened to be the person who found that box under a bed, and I kept it, and she said that I needed to keep this box very close to me and keep it safe. And I accidentally left that box back in Indiana, and no one wants to claim the box or keep the box safe now that I'm in Colorado, because they all know it's haunted. While I kept the box, I had a lot of things move in my home, particularly jewelry, which the person who owned the box before had really cherished jewelry. And it was, I don't know, just very bizarre. But nobody wants to keep this box. But I feel that I don't know, that I'm responsible for this due to being contacted by somebody who owned this before they perished and contacted me after they died. What should I do? I need I need somebody to tell me what I need to do. Should I fly back to Indiana and go get this box?
That's a hell of a question. That's a hell of a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, James. You got a take on that? We'll go to no pressure, James, but we'll go to our paranormal expert. What's your take on that, James? Go ahead.
Yeah, I always hesitate to give advice or direction or whatever, because I don't claim to know anything really. I just catalog experiences is mostly what I do, and then recognize patterns here and there. Also, just to respond, it was people in my neighborhood, not online, that I heard the thoughts of, and it was just for a few seconds. Yeah, I don't know. I always feel like go with what feels right to the individual, and whenever they're making a decision that involves anything anomalous, because I'm not in a position to know to tell anyone what to do, because I could be wrong, and I don't want to give anyone bad advice. So other than just follow what you feel in your mind and your heart, I can't really say much more than that.
Well said. Chat, if you have any advice that you want to give, send it over. What's up? Celia wants to know what's in the box. Matt Sal says have them ship it to you. Just a couple ideas there. But go ahead, Sonia. We got about, let's say, 2 minutes left before we got to take a break. But go right ahead.
Okay. Well, the background on this box is I went to my grandmother's viewing, and I was approached by someone who I recognized as being related just because of her physical characteristics. And she asked if anybody found a box in my grandmother's house. And I had found this particular box. And so I spoke with her and said, I had it. She said, well, please keep it safe. And after she left, I spoke with my father about it. And he said that person had perished probably 15 years prior to that. So that's how I knew that she was no longer with us and that I was speaking with a ghost. So, anywho, I really don't have much more to say, but I really feel bad about leaving that box in Indiana because I feel I should be responsible for it at this point.
Yeah. So, again, see if you can get somebody over there to ship it to you. Pay for the shipping or whatever, and just have them, I'll reimburse you, send me that thing, save you a plane flight. I think that's a hell of an idea anyway, just cost wise. But yeah, I don't know if it's calling to you and you kind of feel guilty about it. Like James said, trust your heart on that. And if you think you should get it, I agree. Maybe you should. Maybe it's something you're supposed to have for whatever reason, as yet unknown to the future. And fire stuff. Appreciate you very much. We are out of time. If you want to stay past the break, you're welcome to. You let me know.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll call back later sometime.
Okay, you were the best. Appreciate you very much. Fantastic call from Sonia there. Go check out her books. Talented author, very, very smart lady. And of course, the mystery of the box persists. I'd love to hear more about that as we go. If you want to be part of the conversation tonight, the phone line is down. I'm going to try it right now. Be right back. Go follow Sonia at troubleminds.org/friends. Go check out her books. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. We'll try the phone line in a sec. And we got more from James and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere.
Gazing at the night-lit skies, signals pulse from deep inside. Waves of thought push through the floor, guided by a force not small. Control the lights in rhythmic flow, minds entwined with unseen glow. UFOs move as I command, patterns only we can understand. Reach the veil beyond the stars, Psionic pulls to distant scars. Hovering through cosmic planes, grasp the light that time retains. Slip through nebulas vast and deep, awake the stars from headless sleep. Conscious blends the cosmic tide, guiding craft where spirits bide. UFOs move as I command, in patterns only we can understand. Reach the veil beyond the stars, Psionic pulls to distant scars. Of galaxies sway in the grasp where dreams convey. Psychic flight where echoes meet, chasing shadows with silent beat. UFOs move as I command, in patterns only we can understand. Reach the veil beyond the stars, Psionic pulls to distant scars. A journey with no bounds we soar, where stars ignite the endless core. Celestial winds, they whisper true, guided by psychic streams we pursue. Aligned with constellations bright, through endless space we dance in flight. UFOs move as I command, in patterns only we can understand.
I kind of like that one. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. Fantastic call from Sonia. Appreciate that. What's going on? We got Machiavelli's here. What's up, Celia? Sonia, what's up? Mission Control. If I missed you, say hi. I'll say hi back. Sweets is here. Good evening. Over to Rumble. What's up? YY's here. Raz, North Vixen. How you guys doing? We got Hiker was first over there. How you guys doing? Hope everybody's well tonight. Just hanging out, doing Troubled Mind stuff. Matt's out. Sonia, Eric. We got Michael W. Jeff. MJ's got his hand up. We'll talk to him momentarily. Sweets is here. What's up, Ricky, APOC, Dawn, and Joey? I see you guys. Hope you're well. Just doing Troubled Mind stuff. I don't know. What do you think? Do the UFOs move with your mind? Right? Psionics. The term psionics is all the rage, isn't it? Who did I miss? If I missed anybody, sorry about that. Just say hi, and I'll say hi back as we go. We got more from James coming up, more from MJ. He's going to be the next caller. And if you want to get in here, get in line. Lots of things in play here, not just the term psionics, but of course, I'm going to introduce that psyop. Here we go. Trouble Minds coming up now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, X, DLive, Kick. What would I say? I don't know. We lost one. Rockfin. We got a man down with Rockfin. We were fired from Rockfin, which is funny. They're restructuring or something, so we're not on Rockfin anymore. But, however, we have a lot of ways to talk about this in a lot of different places, including, of course, KUAP Digital Broadcasting and, of course, the 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand on the Underground Media Network. The whole premise tonight is exactly this. Could psionic powers like telepathy and telekinesis, or even mind-based connections to UFOs, move from fantasy games to reality, as parapsychology and neural tech hinted at unlocking the mind's hidden potential? So basically, look, in the most basic sense, are psi powers real? In any capacity? Do you think that there's a gifted human mind out there that can do this type of stuff? And, I think there's some historical basis for some of this when you look at the ascended masters of old, right? You look at the Buddha or Jesus or, these types of things, human flesh, as we're told. And so in some capacity, you got to wonder where that line blurs. And is it possible for just modern humans awash in propaganda and paranoia and all the doom scrolling and weirdness that we kind of deal with on a daily basis? Is it possible for us to sort of break through the old ways and maybe find some Merlin in us? I don't know. How does that make you feel? Great stuff. Appreciate the call, Sonia. Fire as always. James, what do you got on that? Thanks for sitting in tonight. And I'm going to introduce the PSYOP version of this because I think it's important to the conversation. Then we'll go to MJ. What you got, brother?
Yeah, just that, like you mentioned, those figures that are well known through history and all that. I mean, if there were people like that doing amazing things, then why wouldn't there be other people around throughout time that also had these experiences that didn't become famous? And just when it comes to these experiences, yeah, I mentioned before I had a series of sightings of a blue light in the sky. And there was a psychic or mind-to-mind communication with this light. The first time, and basically just saying hello. And I've said before, when I heard hello back, it was so quick that I almost missed it. It wasn't even really the sound of the word. It was just instantaneous. And so, yeah, I think that this is possible. And but I also think that, like you're going to get to here, people in power will use whatever they can, including this, to do whatever they want to do with whatever they can.
Yeah, well, and like I keep saying too, we're sort of accelerating into that space, that Arthur C. Clarke space of science and magic kind of coming together with these Neuralinks, and eventually, I keep telling you, James, we're going to have these non-invasive technologies that will be able to actually do telekinesis, or control things. Again, you're in the most basic sense, your Tesla car, but then imagine very soon it'll be drones. It'll be something very akin to UFOs, at least conceptually, and so the world's about to get weird. But I want to point this out too. Part of the PSYOP version of this is that, so the Project Unity Jay Anderson, I pointed this out last night, is that he said the spooks kneecapped Greer and then introduced CE5 to the world under a new name. Okay. And so I talked to Jay over the weekend, like I said. Great dude. He was a very, very gracious host, and we had a nice time. That'll be released soon. I'll let you guys know when it's released. But we were during the conversation, he was telling me about he's done this. He's done CE5. He was able to summon these things, and so he's right. He's definitely a believer because he's seen it with his own eyes. However, he's pointing out here that there's been a co-op of the conversation in terms of the terminology, right? And and so here's another fantastic version of exactly that. So remember that UFOs, unidentified flying objects, are now UAP. Okay, the new version. It seems like we need new vernacular and slang for every new thing because, well, that's how you control a narrative, right? So UFOs are now UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. here's the other part. So CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, that's Stephen Greer's, Dr. Stephen Greer's protocols are now being relabeled as psionics. Okay, you see? Mind powers to bring in the UFOs. And so Bruce Fenton at Geological SETI, see how I mix those two things up in my head. But Bruce is a great guy too. I've talked to him a little bit on some of the X spaces. He said this, and this is super funny. He's got a poll. I didn't vote on this poll, but I'm pretty sure I know what this is going to say. He says, A, and think about the terminology. I use psionics to engage the NHI associated with UAP. So NHI is, of course, non-human intelligence. I'll read that again. He's got two options here. A, I use psionics to engage the NHI associated with UAP. Or B, I use psychic abilities to engage the alien intelligence associated with UFOs. Okay? So you see where I'm getting at with this. It seems like when you talk about controlling the narrative, definitely Orwell would suggest, and Bernays' propaganda back in the day, would suggest that controlling the language and how we talk about these things and even the terms we use is a fantastic way to control that narrative. And so I do wonder if CE5 is being rebranded, as Jay said, as Bruce here is describing, and maybe this is part of that CIA PSYOP level of disclosure. I don't know, which again, I do not trust. And there are new revelations. The Anna Paulina Luna, the intrepid congressperson that's going to bring us transparency in all the ways, apparently tweeted tonight on X. I'll try and pull up that tweet and show it to you guys. They post, sorry, not tweet anymore. They're posts these days. But she said that they've sent a request to the Justice Department and basically have not got an answer back yet regarding the JFK files. Oh, interesting. So we're going to drag our feet and stonewall each other. Who couldn't see that coming, right? Like I said, just release the damn stuff. Let us talk about it. We'll parse it. The internet is an amazing place with a ton of smart people. We'll figure out the deets, okay? Just give us the documents. But no, they have to put it through a committee. They have to drag it through, the bureaucracy. They have to get stonewalled from one department to the next. And then, of course, we have to, beg for scraps, table scraps once again. And that's was my fear regarding this. It's early yet, but she basically tagged Pam Bondi, who's the new DOJ head, so which is the Department of Justice, of course, for the folks that don't follow it that close. But I'm telling you what, there's some feet dragging going on here, and possibly the PSYOP of all PSYOPs, of course, to co-opt, not just non-human intelligence, the cover-up, the big X-Files cover-up we always talk about, but also change the terms so that things are just slightly different. And when you tell a narrative and change the terms over the course of a long narrative, then suddenly it's not even the same thing you're talking about anymore in some capacity, is it? Thought on that, James? We'll go to MJ.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise. I missed that part of that post. I did find it last night as we were talking and put it in the chat as we were talking over in Discord. But that's just, foot dragging. No one does that in the government. It's just words are they can be so great in so many ways. But then also, I saw a post for online today for a T-shirt, and on the T-shirt it said, "Make Orwell fiction again." That was the phrase on this T-shirt, which I thought was really quite a good bit of marketing there.
Indeed, that's been going around quite a bit too. Who posted that in our Discord? I think was it Liz posted that. She took a picture of a bumper sticker, sent that to our Discord. Yep, it's out there, and it is an idea. And of course, let's indeed make Orwell fiction again. You're the best, James. Appreciate you. We'll get back to James momentarily. 702-957-1037 is the phone number, which I didn't try. Sorry about that. I'm going to fire it up right now. Oh my goodness gracious, how do I do this and not break everything? And we're going to go to MJ in one sec. Actually, let's go to MJ. Let's not make him wait anymore, and then we'll try the phone line. He toughed it up and just jumped on the Discord. MJ, you're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you, brother? Go right ahead.
Doing really good. You're talking about mechanical connections to the UFOs, psionics.
Yeah, through some sort of being able to control UFOs with your mind, basically, to boil it down to the most basic sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Because I was thinking I'm going to wire you up. My feeling is, and from my experiences, that we as humans have that ability to get to someone's frequency in their brain and control it. And there's certain parts of the brain they have to tap into to make you do things. And like I called in, a long time ago about being called out to go see aerial activity. That happened multiple times. And they have a true connection to that. And I would say all the time that they weren't exactly extraterrestrial. I'd say over half, I'd say most of them were, it's our stuff. But they've been working with the technology. I guess they sold out or whatever, but they have some of the technology through the connections with the extraterrestrials to produce this type of activity in your brain. It happened to me way too many times. And calling them in. Once you get a connection with the extraterrestrials and it's a strong connection, you can call them in. I've done that before. And I had questions on my mind as to, my question was, am I seeing what am I seeing? What I think I'm seeing as far as extraterrestrials. And I gave an activity to, just the activity that I wanted them to do, and they did it. And I had someone there witnessing it for me. They were with me thinking the same thing. I told her I want to do something, so let's do it together. So I had a witness sitting there watching the whole thing. It's more than possible, to do all these things. It's just part of what I found out. You mentioned cloud busting.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night. Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, in order to do that, you have to be connected to the earth elements in order to remove the clouds from the sky. You've got to have that strong earthy connection to do that. That's not an extraterrestrial thing. That's an earth connection. That would be shaman type of thing that I've done before to clear the sky out, because I would go out sometimes. I had this one particular town, like I always talked about, I'd go to. And I'd sit out at night, and it would cloud up sometimes, and I just got really frustrated. Oh, I can't see anything tonight, And then next night I went up there and I was seeing clouds. It's like, why are the clouds here? It's Arizona, for God's sake. We don't have clouds. So I just sat back, and I started. I don't know what I started, but I was just staring at the sky, and all of a sudden it just started opening up. It was round, a perfectly round circle, and it started feeding out. And then for I want to say miles around, all the clouds disappeared. They were gone. I could see everything that night. And what I found was you have that connection with Earth, also extraterrestrial. And somewhere along the line, it gets broken, or it's time to stop. And you'll be told it's time to stop. And you just sort of wind down and let go, because it's a lot of energy to pump through your body to get all this stuff going. It takes a lot. And I would wind down, and the cloud just immediately came back and covered up.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about that exact thing. You know anything about the cloud busting, James?
I've tried it a couple of times over the years, and I was able to do it, which is really amazing, because if you think about it, I'm legally blind, but that doesn't matter, because you're focusing energy, you're using energy in your thoughts and all that, and it happened that clouds above me that I could see. I focused on the ones I could easily sort of make out that were separate from others, and I was able to. They drifted apart. They faded away, and it was the wildest thing. Also, just regarding the contact and everything, that when I had that first experience with the blue lights, I don't know why I decided to go out to get the mail when I did that morning. I wonder now if I was sort of summoned as well to have that experience. So, everything that MJ is saying here, it tracks to me.
Yeah, the retro causality, right? Did you call them, or did they call you? How does that work, MJ? Go ahead.
It's a realization that it's going on. I was like, it was crammed down my throat in the beginning. It was just nothing but, I would be out. I moved up to this town, and for 3 weeks I was puking up black stuff. And now it's all the toxins living down in Phoenix, Arizona, just the pollution, the people, everything. And I got up there first, I was sick. I was like, flu-like, but I didn't have flu, but I was throwing up black stuff. And I was working on my phone line and everything. Here we go, throw up a little bit and go back and work on the phone line. And after a while, it's fine. But 3 weeks after that is when I started seeing silver discs in the sky. And what they would do And they were signaling me because I already had a contact with them, but I was ignoring the crap out of it. And I get irritated for no reason. I get mad and irritated. And I finally figured out they were contacting me, and I was trying to block, like, nope, yeah, I don't have anything to do with you. I don't want you. And one day it was so apparent. I threw out I had a side entryway to the apartment I was renting. And upstairs, I just went out and started screaming. And I got a ladder and I got up to the roof, and I'm looking because the back of my head would buzz. I talked about that a long time ago, but the back of my head would buzz. So whatever side of the back of my head would buzz, I'd turn and look in that direction behind me. And it was like major in the back of my head. So I got up on a step ladder. I'm looking at this roof. And I see this little tiny silver disc. It would come out behind the cloud. It would start glistening and brighten up and dim down and go back behind the cloud again. It did this several times. So there was a connection they made with me, but once it started, I couldn't stop the connection with them. So I had to, either you be a victim or you're going to be a participant. So I was a participant. And what it did was I got to the point where you can talk, you can call them in. Whether or not they can stand on the ground or be anywhere near you, I don't know. They would always not do that with me. All the other stuff happened, but I've never actually physically been next to them. And I think that would be my final thing, to be next to them. Like 2009, I hadn't been up, and I moved that town about 96. Was it? Yeah, 1996. Went down to Phoenix, and I drove back up in 2009. It's like, it's a great place. It's just, there's 500 people in the town, dogs barking. It's just nothing, no light and pollution, nothing. So I climbed back up in the desert, in this place I like to go, and I'm just sitting there. And I just needed to wind down from the city. And I went to a nice meditation. It's like, you just start breathing in, and you breathe in the earth energy, and you breathe it out. You breathe it in, breathe out. Going and just, getting that rhythm going. And then suddenly something got my attention. I looked up to my right, and there's clear skies everywhere, but this big, perfectly round cloud. And I'm sitting there looking at it like, no, you didn't. So I'm going to go back into my meditation, which I could never do. And I looked up again, and then the edge of the circle, it started dropping down like it had a lip. And then another circle inside that started dropping down. I had two lips, like it make it a plate, and it has an edge in it, but there's an inner edge to it, so your food can't slide off. Okay, but turn it upside down now. And I got up, and immediately came out of my mouth. I said, "I'm not ready to go now. I've got a life to finish here." And I got in my car and left. And that was it. But things happened after that. So you have that connection. And I think the more you participate, you just get a clearer connection. And if you want to participate with them, see what's going on, that's fine. There's a difference participating with the aliens as it is to humans. There's a shut off with the humans. There's a control factor with the humans. Aliens, there's no control factor. It's just, you want to go now? Okay, no. Yeah, no, not right. All right, not right now. That's fine. With the humans, it's a testing. And you can feel it's a test, and it's what's real. Aliens is real. But with humans, it's more like a test. It's a beta test that they're testing different people that the aliens have contacted, and they're finding they're seeping their way in to see if they can do it, the humans.
Yeah. Okay. So you're describing sort of an invasive aspect to this, meaning that once you call them in, there's like it's really difficult to shake them. Doesn't that sound like a typical haunting in some capacity, right? Like once you sort of break the seal or cross the threshold or live in the haunted home with the burial, the ground beneath or whatever, like you just kind of can't shake it. It feels like a poltergeist in the sky. Is that what you're describing here? Like this invasive aspect of it that you have a really difficult time kind of shaking it off?
You don't have a choice. And put it that way. You really don't have a choice. You can't say, "Oh, not today. Okay, we'll leave you alone." They're not going to do that. It's like I said, either you're a victim or you become a participant. And I became a participant. And I learned enough that I communicate. And like I said, you have pictures of my shoulder. That was the last thing they did to me. And that was a major mess on my left shoulder. And when you go to that level, and this is what we're doing, and you are aware of what's going on, you can't stop it. It's, you can do the prayer, you can do whatever you want. It does not stop them. They don't adhere to our beliefs in a God. Like you say, Jesus Christ or God is our God, whatever you want to call that. They don't adhere to that. They don't even go by that. They're beyond. They are the creators, like we talked about humans being engineered. They're creating different humans by injecting our DNA into theirs and mix it up in a little bottle, and then you stick it in you to see if it's going to work with you. This type of thing. So I can't say poltergeist because I've had poltergeist, and it was around, and it was reciprocated, but no harm came to you, no physical anything. It was just poltergeist. This goes way beyond that. So it's what do you do with it? You're a victim, or you're a participant. And like I said, it's just easier to be a participant because things go a lot smoother.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, I don't know. That's one of those things that when I was talking to Jay too, again, Jay, when this comes out, you'll see why I'm talking about this guy a lot, because we had a great conversation. Jay Anderson of Project Unity, he said that he wasn't trying to initiate contact like that anymore. He said he did it, and I'm not sure why. We never got. I should have asked a follow up on that particular question, why? But maybe it's in line with what you're describing. It may have been more invasive in the sense of you don't really know what you're dealing with. Is it possible that these entities, whatever they are all manner of malevolent, benevolent? We've talked about this in the past. Is there a way to tell? Is it just sort of the intuition test, how you feel in your heart type of stuff, or is there deception in play as part of that invasive aspect that you're describing?
Oh, there's a deception. They fed on my emotions, my sexual emotions is what they fed on. And they will feed on other people's emotions on, you've got to clean up the planet. Oh, we're, got to do this. That's just a feedback is what it is. They're not telling you that. They're going inside your head and they're replaying it back to you to make it feel like that they're emotional about what's going on. And they're not emotional about what's going on. I had a particular abduction dream. And they literally had me down on a table. I was fighting them, and they knock you back out or black you out again. And I got up and I was just running around, screaming and yelling, and just swinging. And they're all just like, "Oh, what's going on with him?" And they portrayed this abduction scene in an old barn. You could see the straw. There was a little box of leftover tools, this type of thing. But yet, when you looked around at them, they're standing by this high, I'm going to call it stainless steel. I don't know what kind of metal it is. Counters. And it's like, what are we doing here? But then I look over here and I see a barn. Okay. Now I'm pissed. I get beyond pissed with this when they do so, when I'm awake to it. And I saw a Phillips head screwdriver, yellow handle. It had some beigeish pink paint on it, dry. I grabbed it. And I could see one of the aliens, the big black eyes, staring through one of the slats in the wall, because one of the boards had fallen off and he was staring through it. And I was hell-bent for election. I had the screwdriver. I was going to stab him in the eye. And what happened was I'm sitting there and I'm running through like, I'm going to get you. And all of a sudden, he said, if you do this, you'll only be doing this to yourself. And suddenly, this overwhelming feeling of camaraderie and family came over me. They're not my family. And I was going to stick that thing in the eye, and it stopped it by feeding back on me, because I don't have family. I have family, but there's no connection. So what they did was they played on that, and you have family. It made you feel all warm and fuzzy, so it stopped. And I'm like, oh, you're my family. It's like, they're not my family. So they play that game all the time. And if you're a good subject, this type of thing, and you realize what's going on, we don't have choices as such. Leave me alone. I struggled with that. But then there was also that curiosity that killed the cat in me. It really was. It's like, I got to know. Now I'm at a point where I would literally like to sit down with them face to face and talk to them. I have no fear anymore. It's like, you've done everything you could do to me. I'm going to talk to you for, in front of me. I want to see you. And I don't think or know that that's ever really going to happen.
Yeah, fair enough. Wild stuff. We got about a minute left. So a final thought here. Is this something you recommend with that invasive stuff, or you think that people should probably not try and dip their toes in this ocean?
If you do it too many times, it will follow you. Now, whether they really have an interest in you or not, that remains for them. Some people, they drop like hot potatoes. Other people, they don't. They didn't drop me at all, until 2 years ago. So when you look at that, if you can sit back, if you're better off doing tarot cards and dealing with earth energies, that's a much better place to be, because you're dealing with something that's real, that we stand on every day, that's all around us. And to deal with these guys, if you're looking at it, you can, just for the thrill of it, you got it done. And they may not bother you because they may not want you. So, James, if you're still here, I got to ask you a question. Those blue orbs, did they have a white ring around them?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Never mind. Another time. You're the best, MJ. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for staying up late with us. Thanks for jumping through the hoops and getting on the Discord because of the phone line. Always a pleasure, brother. Have a fantastic night, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, same to you.
Thanks a lot. You were the best. MJ, you know him, you love him. Good friend for a long time. MJ in Virginia. Yeah, look, we're talking psionics and UFOs. What does this mean? What does it look like? Can you summon these things? Is it invasive, as MJ was describing? And what is your experience? And is there a psyop here, changing the name from UAP, from UFOs to UAP and NHI, non-human intelligence, all the rest? There's a lot here. And of course, psionics itself, the name and where it came from. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. We got more with James. We got Michael W. and Kelly in your calls as well. Don't go anywhere.
Troubled mind, the words they cast, heavy shadows from the past. A restless heart, a searching soul, seeking space to become whole. Troubled minds find open sky through every tear and every sigh. We rise, we fall, wings unfurled, more than labels in this world. In crowded streets or empty rooms, our echoes chase away the gloom. A spark of hope, a whispered truth, a shared melody, our fountain of youth. We're more than static on the line, singing louder than the signs. In every chord, we claim our part, beating drums match the heart. Grab the strings, we tune the stars. Punk rock anthems heal the scars. A blended mix of rage and art, painting freedom, that's just the start. Troubled minds take the stage. In every note, we break the cage. We rise, we fall, but carry on. Sing our truth until the dawn. In the quiet after the song, echoes of our rights and wrongs. But the music speaks for peace. In the chords we find release. Troubled minds now rest at ease. With every breath we seize release. We stand, we soar into the light. Our anthem roar into the night.
Well, hello. Fantastic call so far. More with James coming up as well. What's up? A couple of fantastic comments. Thanks you for pinning these, whoever's pinning these over on Rumble. So North Vixen says this. Not exactly they hide it. And the professor said there is a difference between ET and angelic or demonic beings. Spiritual beings don't need UFOs to get around, and that makes a ton of sense right there. But also with the PSYOP version of hiker emoji ads, one man's intrepid congressperson is another man's gatekeeper. And that's the absolute truth of it, isn't it? Oh boy, per usual, right? Like I said, just give us the documents. We'll figure it out. You don't have to filter anything for us. We're grown adults and smart people, and stop it. Stop with this nonsense. So we'll see what happens. I'm cautiously optimistic, as I always like to say. I hope you guys are well tonight. What's up, MJ? Fantastic call. Joey's here. What's up, Michael W? We'll talk to you momentarily. We've got Sweets, Ricky, APOC, Dawn, Jeff and Wisco. What's up, Eric? Sonia, thank you for the call of fire stuff. Kelly coming up as well, and Matt's out. I see you there. More from James coming up as well. How you doing, buddy? And who do we got? Who did I miss? Raz is here. Good evening, guys. Puff. Hello. If I missed you, just say hi. I'll say hi back. I'm an introvert. Hi. Hi. What's up, Janice here? How you doing? The Arcane Observer. What's going on? Mission Control. I see you, buddy. Good evening, guys. Hope you're well tonight. Thanks for lighting the chat up. Jay in New York. How you doing, my man? Thanks again for hanging out with us last night and helping fix the audio. And many of you did that, so thank you. It was a team effort and a great conversation. Appreciate that. By the way, good time to go join the Discord if you have not. Come meet many of these amazing people. Not everybody that's part of this community is active on Discord, but let's make it that way. It's really easy to use. It's free. It's a chat client. It's a voice client. And if you're bad with technology, jump in there and say I'm bad with technology in the chat, and people will help you. Okay, that's the whole point of this. Who did I miss? Let's see. Celia, David on the road, MJ, Mr. Mission Control. Yeah, I think we got everybody. If I missed somebody, sorry about that. Like I said, trying to keep up and do all the things and keep a coherent thought in my head. It's like I said, harder than it looks. Anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds coming up. We got Michael W. We got Kelly. More from James and your calls as well. Here we go. Right about now. What's up, SK Scubrats? I see there. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening. Meow. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight we're talking psionics and UFOs. Yeah, psionics, that troublesome word that goes all the way back to the Player's Handbook from 1978 of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons for the ones that know. For the ones that know, it's an interesting term, and it ended up in the appendix of this. And I've got the actual Player's Handbook up here. I'll dig it out in a second and get you to the appendix part. But it's an incredible thing to consider that, I don't know, these terms from this role-playing game from ages ago, from literally 50 years ago now, just about, are, well, becoming part of our modern mythology, not just with UFOs, but of course with the idea that you can use your mind to control not just UFOs, but the government wielding these sort of superpowers and using people to do it, very much like 11 from Stranger Things, right? If you guys have seen that series, if you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. But it's a wild thing. Project Stargate, MK Ultra, all this stuff plays. And so how much of that was actually cast out as nonsense, and how much of that was sort of smuggled away as some golden future that they don't want us to know? I don't know myself personally, but I think there's definitely a lot here to consider and talk about. Fire stuff. Appreciate all the calls so far. James, what you got on that? And then we'll go to Michael W. and Kelly after that.
Just one thing that I think is important to consider is, I think this goes beyond anything. I mean, it's part of it, but it goes beyond just UFOs or aliens, or I think it goes to anything anomalous, any kind of experiences people have with whatever they're sensing or seeing or hearing. I think it applies to the whole anomalous field of study of just paranormal, supernatural, whatever words you want to use to describe it all. I think it's all connected there. And yeah, just that with the blue lights, just to prove how complicated I think this all is. When I saw those blue lights, I did invite them to come to my place and to actually come down closer so I could see them better, and they never did. And so I think there's just so many variables. That's sort of one of my things I say now all the time is, I think there's so many variables to how this works, and that's why it's not easy to have anything happen on demand all the time.
James, it's one of the classic blunders. You're not supposed to invite the fae folk inside. What are you doing?
Oh, I know. I got plenty of feedback from that when I told everyone I did it in Discord. But whatever, I did it because I did not feel anything bad, and nothing ever happened from it. And it's really weird, yeah, how all that works.
Fair enough. I was just making a joke, as you know, but it is a folklore thing, right? Like the vampire is, the old "Can I come in?" and the English teacher's like, "You mean may you come in?" Right? Whatever that meme is, and so there's the threshold magic of unless you invite them into your space, supposedly they're not supposed to come in. So I don't know, and not allowed, like literally forbidden to enter until you say, "Yep, come on in." Wild stuff. I don't know. You're going to be fine, James, because you had a good feeling about it. I'm not trying to spook you here, but I'm just making a joke at you. You're the best brother, as you know. If you guys want to be part of the conversation tonight, the phone line is down. I've tried it 3 or 4 times. I'm not sure what's happening. So we have a final thing here to fix. I think it's happening. Never mind. I won't bore you with details. I think I know, but whatever. 702-957-1037 is the number to call, which is not working, so don't bother dialing that. But do instead join the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link and get in here and come meet the fam. And you can also raise your hand in the Discord on the stage and pop in and say hi, just like this. Michael W. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? And the first time on Discord, right? I think you call in on the phone line most times. Go right ahead. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, it's my first time. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. We can see you too, just in case you don't know that.
Hi. So let me grab my notes. We're talking about specifically the psionics term, right? And I personally was unfamiliar with this term until very recently. And I think I mentioned in the chat that I heard Randy Kramer talking about it. And he was talking about how he used to be a space Marine, and nowadays he runs his psionics school where he teaches people psionics. And I was listening to him and I thought, man, it sounds like he's just talking about telepathy and psychic abilities. And if I'm off base, somebody correct me, but is that pretty much it? Like psionics kind of translates to telepathy?
It's sort of just a fancy term that was cooked up to basically cover for the idea of psychic abilities, psi abilities, PSI as they're known. So it fits all of them. It fits all of them, whether it's telekinesis or ESP, this type of stuff, telepathy. It's all built into that and cooked into this. And with the Dungeons and Dragons framework, which is quite a bit more fascinating in terms of the scope that they kind of brought into it, that it's all kinds of things like a mind blast and some sort of defensive shield and some other kind of rules based on these old ideas, but who really knows? Because I think there's a large umbrella when you talk about the sort of hidden powers of the mind. But you're definitely right; it fits under that larger umbrella for sure.
Well, I got to look into that because this, like you said, that term as it came about in the Dungeons and Dragons universe over 50 years ago, and now Lou Elizondo is using it, and he is employed by the Pentagon. So it's not just a silly term about silly kid games anymore. Now it's something that a guy who speaks for our government at the Pentagon is allowed to talk about. Like he's been authorized to discuss this like it's a real thing. So excuse me, but how did that evolve, And so what I want to talk about is I think we need to look at this. Like I'm starting to see patterns like this where okay, we used to call it UFOs, but now they, a year or two ago, they started calling them UAPs. And that came out of left field, and it went over like a fart in church, if you ask me at first, but they just pushed it to like, now that's what I'm saying. And it's normalized now. And they also did it with aliens. Now we say NHIs, non-human intelligences, instead of aliens, So like those are three things: psionics, UAPs, NHIs. Those are three huge things that they did this with. just in the past couple of years, where they took terms that we used to use that they called us crazy for using, and now I don't know if you want to call it our government or the deep state or the powers that be, or just call it they for that matter. They stole those words away from us and changed them into different words, and now they're using them to describe the same things that we were talking about when they were calling us crazy. They were calling us crazy for decades when we talked about these things. Decades, and now all of a sudden we're just supposed to accept that it's okay to talk about it. But that doesn't repair all the damage that happened. All of the innocent people who just had something really freaky happen to them, and then they talked about it, and then for the rest of their lives, they were ridiculed. Their lives were destroyed because they told about this really traumatic thing that happened to them, if they were abducted by aliens or whatever, and now it's just okay. And it reminds me of how now marijuana is legal in most places, but there are still millions, maybe hundreds of thousands of people locked up in prison because they had a joint in their pocket 30 years ago,
Yeah, well,
it reminds me of that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Times change, and again, like yesterday's criminal is tomorrow's prophet or whatever. And you're right. You're right to be pissed off about this because, like you said, there's a lot of people that have been traumatized by this type of stuff. Literally, not one of those kind of maybe. No, literally, people have had experiences, abduction experiences, and seen these things, and with witnesses, like multiple witness accounts type stuff, and they were written off as kooks. Which is, again, one of the worst things we could ever do to people, in my opinion, because, hey, look, stop. Do we really know the nature of reality enough to be able to say, well, I'm sorry, Michael, what you saw was, swamp gas. Here we go, right? It's embarrassing. It's an embarrassing aspect of this. And you're right to be upset about it. I agree. It's like, come on now. And again, changing the terms, like I just put this up on the screen again, changing the terms. So I use psionics to engage the NHI associated with UAP. It's all the new vernacular, or the old way. I use psychic abilities to engage the alien intelligence associated with UFOs. Shout out Bruce Fenton, smart guy out there doing God's work on X and creating content and everything else. But yeah, you're right. You're right to be pissed off about this. And so what does it look like? So now we're told that you can, from quote government whistleblowers, and I'm not calling anybody liars. I'm saying, as you are correctly stating, they've been authorized to talk about this, remote viewing and all kinds of stuff again. So who's being psyoped? We are, obviously, but how deep does it go? How deep does the psyop and the rabbit hole go? Go right ahead. What you got?
It is obviously a psyop. By definition, all of this rebranding is a psyop. So my question is, why? Why suddenly are they? Why? Okay, I think I know why. There's a lot of liability involved in this. Like, if any of this stuff is true, like, let's think about all the stuff that Stephen Greer's been talking about for decades. If any of that is true, then there are a lot of things. We could have been living in a utopia for decades by now, And if that is true, and they held and they didn't let us have those things when they could have, I mean, lives are on their hands, I mean, think of all the horrible things we deal with in this reckless world, in this chaotic world that could have been cured. The fact that people, live without energy, there are, I think, 3 billion people in the world that don't have electricity, access to medicine, things like this. And the fact that those things existed, but were withheld from us for decades, means that the people who did the withholding are bad people, and all those lives are on their hands. So they're not just going to come out and say, yeah, sorry, we just didn't want to let you have this stuff. They're going to say, oh, it's UAPs. Oh, it's NHIs. I don't know what you're talking about when you say UFO or when you say alien. That's something totally different. I'm talking about UAPs and NHIs. So, they're kind of dodging their responsibility. They're shirking their responsibility by doing this. But it feels bigger than that to me. they're rebranding these things, then taking ownership of them. And obviously they're trying to control a narrative. And it just feels like it might be bigger. Like, is there a possibility? I guess I want to ask a question. Is there a possibility that they're trying to shift something bigger than just a narrative? Are they trying to use this vocabulary, I mean, it is an overwhelming assault on the vocabulary that we've been using. Are they trying to shift our literal reality in some way? Literally call it, I don't know if you want to call it our reality, our timeline. You know, I'm having a hard time articulating this. Are they trying to alter our reality by using this vocabulary in some way? I'm not sure. I'm having a hard time asking that question, but I think maybe you might be able to pick up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, for sure. That's very Orwellian, right? You control the language, you control the narrative. And once you do that, you can make people believe anything. And that's goes back to Bernays propaganda, all the rest of that stuff. We talk about this constantly and continually because it's important to recognize that reality base that we live in is false. It is a complete falsehood of manufactured isms that we're supposed to believe in. And our intuition tells us that it's phony. And that's why we're here. That's why communities like this are built, because we recognize it. And as part of that larger discussion, we're like, wait, though. So if that means that when I was 5, everything I believed is mostly not true, what does that mean? What it means to be human when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60? Like you've ruined a life. You wasted lives on falsehoods. And like I said, you are right to be pissed off about this. I'm pissed off about it. It's what brings me back. Look, this is not making me rich. This is as you know, I'm not here for that. I'm here because this is one of the most egregious things that have ever happened to humanity, and it's modern humanity. Of course, there's different layers that go back through history, but also, what are we supposed to do with this now? We're like this traumatized support group, basically, that's like, yeah, this sucks. So now what? You got to decouple from systems. You got to try and learn different ways to sort of really, really rectify the trauma. I don't know. It's nuts, man. It's nuts. That's the whole point of this. And you're right. You're absolutely right.
So when I think about them literally shifting a reality, I think also I want to go back to this Randy Kramer guy a little bit. And how and the things he talked about, his 20 and back situation where he got zapped out of his bed at the age of 17 and enlisted in the United States Marine Corps Special Section. He's claiming to be a member of the United States Marine Corps Special Section, not the United States Marine Corps. So he's saying, hey, if I was claiming false valor, they would come after me and lock me up. I don't think he's doing that. I think he's claiming to be part of a fictional agency. Or maybe it's real. I don't know, but he's definitely not claiming to be not United States Marine.
Exactly.
He's claiming to be, something that might not exist. But the idea of what he's talking about, that he was zapped from his bed at the age of 17, spent 17 to 20 years in this military career, and then zapped back in, and he was mutilated numerous times throughout this career, and they built new bodies for him and zapped his consciousness into the new body so he could continue his career in his super suit and everything. And God, the guy tells a good story. I kind of believe that he believes what he's saying. And that's all I know for sure, is that I think he believes what he's saying. And then he gets zapped back into his 17-year-old body. So he was taken from one timeline into another timeline. I don't know if timeline's the right word, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Into his Mars timeline, and he existed in that timeline. Then he got zapped out of that timeline, back into his 17-year-old timeline, back into his bed, and he woke up the next morning, with this unexplainable trauma. So is it possible that just these infinite numbers of timelines exist, and is it possible for us to access them from one to another, to somehow the word tesseract comes to mind as a vehicle to travel between different dimensions.
The Merkaba.
Merkaba, a rainbow bridge, whatever.
Yeah.
Is this vocabulary stuff a vehicle to alter timelines, to shift an entire planet, all 8 billion of us, into a different timeline? I don't know. I think those are just the questions I wanted to ask. I hope I did a good job of explaining all of that. That's about all I've got.
Yeah, you did, for sure. And so I'll say this about Randy Kramer and those types of claims. Look, I'm not one to call people liars, but I will say that I'm one of those guys that's like, hey, I'll entertain a lot of maybe juice. However, right, his tale and that sort of time travel tale, and taken from your bed as a child and fighting monsters on Mars and then coming back and kind of having the memory kind of fade into you as you grow up, from the time travel aspect. That's a lot of maybe juice, bro. That is a lot of maybe juice. That's a lot. Yeah. So it becomes not just to the point of theoretical, time travel stuff. It's like literal time travel stuff and like secret programs that are we're talking like a Kardashev 2.5 level civilization of power to be able to do that type of stuff. And we are looking at what we have. We are nowhere close. So like I said, I don't like calling people liars, but I will say that's a lot of maybe juice, 100% on his tale. We did talk about that a long time ago on the show. It was one of the first of the 10 shows we did.
Right. Yeah.
And so I am familiar with it, and there's another guy that came out, Jason Sands, that said something similar as well. So that type of stuff to me, like I said, I'm not calling people liars. I don't know what they've experienced. I don't know what they've seen, these screen memories, who knows? And so I don't know. However, like
there's
I said,
a handful of them. Tony Rodriguez.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. So I don't know. As usual, right? Like it's up to you guys to decide on the veracity of those claims. I can go, well, I can kind of see this and I can kind of see that, vice versa, upside down. But yeah, that's where we sit. Regarding sort of summoning these things and bringing them to you, what's your take on that? Do you think that is, as MJ kind of described, do you think this is an invasive thing that we shouldn't do? And by the way, there's supposedly a faction in the Pentagon called the Collins Elite, right? And they're basically supposedly, again, this is sort of information kind of in the higher echelons of the UFO community, the spooks that are kind of dealing with this stuff. They say that the Collins Elite is actually describing these things as demons in some capacity, and that we shouldn't try and interact with them whatsoever. What's your take on that? Do you think that makes some sense, or is this is this like the Star Trek contact we need? I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways to look at this.
It is both by definition. Yes. The idea of an angel or a demon is simply a political affiliation, but that's the only difference between those two things. And an angel or a demon is not from Earth. So by definition, they are aliens. So aliens and angels and demons to me are all the same things. And people talk about this stuff. I have personally met people who I have reason to believe are capable of interacting with these things. I've never been able to. I've always felt like I was sort of colorblind in that respect. I've been surrounded by these magical people my entire life, but and I've seen them do these magical things, but me personally, I didn't have access to it for some reason. Maybe the same way a lot of people aren't as tall and handsome as me. I don't know. But, I've seen people who simply have the ability to interact with these things at will and at no risk to themselves. These things that we call angels, demons, aliens. I've watched people interact with them. And when they say, okay, you're done here, you have to leave. I knew somebody who could let these things into her body and interact with them on that level. And then when she said, okay, you have to leave now, they had to leave, and they did. I think that those abilities are a spectrum. I think there are people who are helpless against these things. And if something that we would call an angel or demon possesses them, they are helpless, and they cannot force it to leave, regardless of their consent. I think there are beings that we might call angels that do respect consent in these matters. I think there are things that we would call demons that absolutely do not respect consent in these matters. I think that for those things, angels, demons, their abilities are also a spectrum. Some of them are capable of violating consent. Some of them are not capable of violating consent. I fully believe that this reality sort of exists in some way. I don't know exactly how to define it, or I don't know exactly what it looks like. But I mean, this is what Stephen Greer has been saying that he's been doing for decades. His CE5 protocol that he uses, that psionic ability to contact these things, vector them into his position, and invite them to come visit. And people in his group talk about doing that, and then somehow psionic abilities, they find themselves and maybe in an astral fashion controlling these spaceships and things, whether or not it's a good thing to do, I think depends on where you fall on that spectrum.
Well said. Fire stuff, brother. As you know, the music means we're out of time. Appreciate you. Thanks for learning new technology, calling in on Discord. Tall and handsome indeed. Your camera's on. You look great. Appreciate you, brother. Have a fantastic night. I appreciate the call, and always a pleasure. Michael W., join the Discord. Come and meet these amazing people. More coming up. We got Kelly. You got as much time as you need, Kelly. More with James and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way.
In a cryogenic slumber, lost in the lunar night, your face a faded number among the stars so bright. Dreams of forgotten echoes, waiting for time's command. Curtains of gray and sorrow, the lonely lunar sand. Below the moonlit sky, hold on to the fragments of the love we tried. Silent by your ancient souls reside, suspended in a story, kept in the cold dark tide. Our futures in the making, silver-edged domain, hearts kept in silent aching, till we meet once again. We are awakened below the moonlit sky, hold on to the fragments of the love we tried. Frozen time we're resting, waiting for dawn's embrace. Whispers of love confessing in this forgotten place. We are awakened below the moonlit sky, hold on to the fragments of the love we tried. Destinies intertwine, memories kept so vibrant in the vacuum deep in mine. The tale of cosmic yearning across the astral sea, and the fires of hope still burning for when we finally breathe free.
Fire stuff. Thank you, Michael W. We got Scubrats is here. I missed you. How you doing? Carla, welcome to the joint. Good evening, guys. Shalaban, how you doing? That's Eric. What's up? What's up? If I missed anybody, say hi. I'll say hi back. Doing my best to keep up here. Great comments over there. Thanks for pinning these. The change of names makes it easier to cover up UFOs when you do a net search. This is from Raz over on Rumble. If you use their terms, you only get what they push. Exactly right. Exactly right. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening. We got Kelly, more from James and your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking psionics. We're talking UFOs. We're talking the powers of the mind controlling vehicles from elsewhere. Does this track? We've got whistleblowers recently saying these things. And not only that, they've supposedly been cleared by Dobser Review from the Pentagon to leak this information. Now, my tinfoil tingles as part of this conversation because you know what happens to real whistleblowers, right? Look at, I'm not a fan, but look at, what's his name? Edward Snowden. I mean, he's been banished to Russia or whatever. He was in China for a minute. He's been banished to Russia. He can't come back here. They're going to lock him up forever. Julian Assange was locked in a closet in the UK, some ridiculous tiny embassy for ages. His health was failing and there were plots to assassinate him and all kinds of stuff. That's what happens to real whistleblowers, right? And so you see there's this whole dichotomy of these things happening. And you're like, wait, so which is which? And how do we sort of discern the truth in these conversations? Okay. And look, I know it doesn't make me a popular guy in the UFO community. I don't care. That is the truth of the matter when it comes to the space of a whistleblower versus not a whistleblower. Okay. One's like, oh, okay, tell some fanciful tales and you're good. The other one's like revealing classified information and has to go on the lam worldwide because the entire world is after them. You get it? It's a wild thing to consider. I don't know how to juxtapose those two things, but it seems like we're being played in some capacity. I don't know what it looks like. Go ahead, James. A quick take on that. I'm bringing you up, Kelly, right now. Welcome to the joint. Yeah, it's weird, right, James? Go ahead. And Kelly, welcome to the thing.
Yeah, it is all really weird. I do agree with Michael W. Their words. I mean, they're used to manipulate and form narratives. And I do agree that the stigma, even though it may seem like it has decreased somewhat recently, I think it's still mostly there. I don't think it's ever really completely gone away. I don't know if it ever will go away. The other thing I wanted to point out, too, is an important question. How much of what we experience when we have these sightings or whatever paranormal experiences, how much is us? How much is these others? And I think that's something that is hard to figure out at times. But I think it's still there, and I don't think that it's all us. I don't think it's all others. I think it's a mix.
Well said. You're the best, brother. Kelly in Colorado, you're on Troubled Minds. Thanks for being patient, my man. How are you tonight, sir? And go right ahead.
Doing good. How you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good. You sound fantastic, man. That burly baritone there is just buttering us up. What do you got for us? Discord has that way of just popping people's voices. But yeah, you sound great. Go ahead, sir.
All right. So I want to go to this, was it C5 that they call it, whatever?
Yeah, CE5. Yep.
Yeah. So that CE5 that what's the name claims he's doing, right? So the reason why I'm bringing him up is because, every time I see it, right, they're at night and, there's a light in the distance and stuff like that. Well, I'm going to here to tell you that I went to a park, MacArthur Park in downtown LA. There's a guy by the name of Robert Bingham. He calls himself the UFO summoner, and he does it bright daylight. So you don't have to spend your thousands of dollars. If you live in Los Angeles or going into that direction, you can look at his page. He goes and does these sighting, calling these UFOs. And me and Michelle went, right? And even my cousin came up. I was telling him what I was doing, and he wanted to see for himself of something. But yeah, they had like a whole setup. There was a bunch of people that he has. He's got a whole crew. Damn it! But they had like some pretty expensive equipment. You know what I mean? Camera wise, video wise, and they could zoom in pretty far. But I mean, I had my binoculars and stuff like that with me. I had even a smaller telescope. But yeah, he was calling in some stuff that they weren't airplanes. I tell you that right now. You know what I mean? They were what you call UFOs, they were multicolor. Some of them were multicolor. I mean, we sat there all day. I mean, for a few hours until we had, because this was in LA. I was stationed in San Diego at the time. So, we were just coming up there and checking it out, see what he's got. My man, yeah, he could do it. I mean, but I'm saying it's broad daylight, and when he talks to everybody in the crowd, there's videos. I was trying to find one, and it's on Facebook, but someone has got a video of him where he's at a park and he's explaining how he's doing it. Right, you got to be true of heart. What he does is he looks as far as he can into the sky, and then he asks them to ask them to come. Just for, I guess, show them like their craft or whatnot. And yeah, these things show up, man. And I'm talking broad daylight. I mean, they're in a distance, you have to have the camera to see it, but they'll sparkle. They look like they're shimmering, you know what I mean? So that's where you throw your, whatever you're looking out of. And yeah, man, it was pretty incredible. But yeah, people have been having that type of abilities throughout history. I'm going to go into a lot of this stuff started with end of World War II, right into the Cold War, right? All these countries like China, Russia, United States, Great Britain, all these people were doing all these scientific studies, you know what I mean? Of mind, using the mind. That's where they get the Monroe Institute, where, he was working with the government. And these other people, there's a lady that, she was talking, how many years she was working for the government, just using psychic abilities. And that's not the only thing they were looking for. They were looking for everything. Anybody had a kind of a superpower, superhuman ability. They're looking for. China's been doing that for I don't know how long. You know what I mean? For quite some time since. From when I very first ran across that story, it was probably in the 1990s. They had this show actually on TV where looking at people that had superpowers. And then they had that one now too. That guy that was doing the comic books. He had a show with that one kid that was real flexible. He was going around the world looking for people.
Yeah, that was
a lot of those people hide though, because they're
yeah, they end up. You're breaking up just a sec. Let me cut in here and get your internet square. That was Stan Lee's Superhumans, and so they had a guy that was super flexible, and they sent him all over the world. And of course, Stan Lee is the famous creator of Spider-Man and much of Marvel Comics as we know it today, and basically talking about mutants, new mutants or whatever. I hate to use that term because it's a sort of a negative connotation, but that's exactly the type of stuff that you wonder if there are actual superhumans out there in any capacity. But that was a fantastic show. I saw that as well. And yeah, has it really been 20 years since that's been? We're getting old, Kelly.
Yeah, it's been a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's this new thing that was on. I ran across, right? It was on some reels, so I looked on YouTube for it, and it's called Superhuman, Making Invisible Visible. Right. So, and they were talking about they got these schools now, I believe it was in Europe. But they have these schools even here in the United States. They're for people that have abilities, right? But you can even train yourself. What they were doing is these young kids, they're probably 10, 12, 13 maybe, and they're training them young, but there's all ages in there. And what they were doing was blindfolding them, and they were showing them just like the card thing, what's on the card, like a tree, a bucket or whatever. But they were also can see colors. So they said that they can see the vibration of the color, right? So green, yellow, blue, purple, right? And they were, and I'm talking like their guy was just throwing them left and right. It's on YouTube. It's called Superhuman, making the invisible visible, right? So you can check that out. Now, back in time, like another thing I ran across was this guy. He was doing this study, right? He was interested in the same thing we're kind of talking about, people with like psychic abilities or different type of abilities. And he was saying like, but he wanted to hear about people that saying that, oh yeah, it runs in my family. So he was doing that. It was him and this other scientist. They were going around and with groups of families throughout different parts of different countries as well. But he was taking families throughout not just in one area, so different places in the countries, and then different towns, and then different countries, because he wanted to see if there was a difference. What was the DNA difference or anything? What kind of difference they're going to find between people that have psychic abilities, that claim they have psychic abilities, and people that say they don't. They don't even believe in it, right? So they thought that he was going to find the difference in the people that was claiming they had psychic abilities, but the difference they were finding was the people that didn't have psychic abilities. They were saying that it was like their whole DNA was different, right? I can't remember exactly. I was trying to find the information before I jumped online, but I'll find it and post it later on. But the study he was saying that the people that didn't have any psychic abilities or any sane stuff like that their DNA was different. So what he was saying, that everybody probably at least at one time had these abilities, and then from the time frames they were going back into families. They were saying that at the time when you could probably blame the Holy Roman Empire when that happened, when they were burning people, like saying they were witches and stuff. Anybody that were claiming that they could talk to people, forests or fairies or anything like that, they were witches. So going back to the time frames after they were kind of tripping out, was that like the difference was actually the people. So the other people that had these psychic abilities or claim their whole families throughout different countries, their DNA were almost, not identical, but like whatever he was looking for, I'm saying like the patterns of what he was looking for, they all matched. But everybody else that didn't have anything, so the Holy Roman Empire was doing a pretty good job of that when they were, roaming the earth, spreading that stuff, you know what I mean? And then just wiping people out.
Yeah.
It's a crazy... Go ahead.
Yeah, just the original sort of psyop of cover-ups and all the rest of this stuff. In the old days, right, you can get away with murder very easily, and that's part of the problematic part with history is that some of this stuff could have been easily, as you're describing, sort of discovered and snuffed out and just erased. So who really knows? Like, who really knows what this looks like in the larger context? Because clearly, you can't just snuff people out today as easily as it used to be, and just be like, oh, an accident. We don't know what happened to Billy. He fell in a well or something. Right? Like today, they're like, there's cameras everywhere and they'll do investigations and there's DNA scrapings on the well and all the stuff, right? But in the old days, you're right. They could literally just scrub this stuff from history and even, kidnap these people and experiment on them very much like the 1930s Germany people did, which was really horrific and grotesque. So yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Yeah. That was a crazy test. I'd have to find out. That was a good one too, man. I was like, wow, that was pretty interesting because he was talking about like, I don't know, shapes of the blood, DNA, stuff like that. But anyway, to go further into like you guys were talking about that cloud busting, right? So there are other psychic abilities too that like nowadays I've been actually seeing a lot of this popping up, but people that claim they can, move like elements, kind of like MJ was talking about the earth elements and stuff, earth, wind, fire, all that stuff. But they're calling it hydrokinesis is what they're calling it. Right. I'm really getting interested in that too. It's like, you see this one guy, he was from Africa and he was actually moving the water from the shoreline, like, and the video is only like, I don't know, probably 30 seconds, but he's moving the water shoreline back and then he's calling it forward and like over extends it out. You know what I mean? So like it covers his feet and he has to walk out of the water. But that new they're calling it hydrokinesis. If you guys ever want to check that shit out, but it's sorry, Mike. It's manipulation. They call it manipulation through inspiration. Instead of like trying to force it, you're trying to inspire it to move. You know what I mean? The elements of the earth. But you got like also, you know, like this stuff has been talked about for, you know, I would say for thousands of years, you know, through all the ancient writings and stuff like that. Like one that really comes to mind when we talk about this is like the Gospel of Thomas, right? When they were saying it's, you know, sayings of Jesus, right? Or Yahweh or whatever you want to call them. But they were saying, like in that Gospel of Thomas, they talk about like you can move mountains, you know, with just like you say the mountain will move and the mountain will move, you know, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So like levitation and stuff like that, moving stuff with your mind, you know, just like telekinesis and all that other stuff, you know. So like, again, this type of stuff has, you know, it's been going around for, you know, I believe for thousands of years, you know, and without even using different instruments or whatnot, you know what I mean? It's just used with the mind. That would be right there would be like, I consider the golden age if you're using stuff not through technology, but just through your mind itself. You know what I mean? You don't even need technology.
Yeah, well said. All that, which is again, as yet to be, like I said, I still haven't met the dude who's floating and glowing yet, or the lady, well, whoever, right? Still waiting to find that. And I'm not saying that it's impossible, by the way. Like this is the type of stuff that as this quickening continues to happen, maybe we find sort of these latent abilities in, you know, DNA or whatever that are, you know, just sort of epigenetics that need to be, you know, switched on or off or whatever. And maybe, just maybe, this type of stuff reawakens in some capacity. We find a way to sort of reawaken it, not through a technological sense, you know, with jetpacks to fly, but other glowing and floating mechanisms that might be built into us. All that junk DNA we always talk about, right? Oh, it's just junk, right, Kelly? Yeah, there's nothing to see here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just real quick too, I want to talk about like when you guys were talking about like the guy was talking about he was 17 years old and they took him, you know, in like timelines. But I've heard different similar stories, right? And one is actually a guy that we kind of found each other through different UFO, different outfits that I check out online, you know. So this guy, he actually, it's not that he's saying that he claims to be the baddest UFO hunter on the internet, right? Because some of the videos or pictures that he's taken, you know, he takes multiple shots. He says you have to do that because you're not just going to get a single shot. He might get lucky and do that, but with his camera, he's doing like the shutter speed is moving really fast. So that's why he's capturing a lot of this stuff. But man, you should see some of the stuff he's capturing. I mean, this is all around his house. He's from Texas, but man, he got some crazy stuff. But his reason why I'm bringing that up is because he says he has these powerful dreams, and you don't even know if they're dreams. Because he was like, man, it was kind of bothering him really bad for a while because he was talking about even like, you know, crazy stuff about, you know, doing some stuff to himself. But he was saying that he's in his dreams, these powerful dreams he has, is that he's a space marine, like a soldier, and he works with like a different types of like alien species, you know, and he's like they move him around on different spaceships, right? And he has died before, you know, and they I guess fix your body through like, I don't know, I guess with like 3D printing type stuff, what we kind of like technology have now. But like, and when he's talking about the medical bays that where he's in, they're just like, you know, he's kind of like saying is, you know, kind of like Star Wars, you know, where they sink them in water and they just repair the body that way. But it's through tissue and everything. So I don't know, man. He's got some crazy stories when, you know, he shares most of his, you know, his pictures and videos and not really commenting, but sometimes when he's real talkable, he talks about that stuff, man. And it's just like that, just like those guys that, people say that they're whistleblowers, but like, it's almost mirroring the same type of stories that what he's talking about, like they're using them like as soldiers, and then you do die, but when they bring you back to Earth, it's like you're here for like a certain, I guess for a certain time, as they're waiting for you for your body repair. If it was like something damaged, really, needs to be repaired for a while, and then when they're ready, they'll come get you, and then they're just doing it all over again. So it's not like, it's almost kind of like you're taking you out of your, like kind of you're doing out of body, but it's not really, and it's you, but it's in another, I guess in another body, like an avatar or something. It's crazy. It's just like that, just whatever that guy was talking about. That's exactly, he was talking about. So those stories that I've ran across, throughout my time with researching, I've read, different, and these are like throughout the years, and they're like separated by, I would say 5-10 years or something. But it seems like that story never changes, and they're from different people.
It seems like there's a lot of stories that never change, Kelly, which is why we talk about this stuff, which is wild, right? That the cyclical version of history and some of the things that are just intentionally erased. Do you think, so Dr. Stephen Greer, again, like I'm not an adherent, I'm not like pumping him up and saying he's like the anything. I'm just saying like he suggests that these entities are all benevolent. That's one of his big things. Do you think there is a danger here? And actually, as MJ described, calling these things in and them becoming invasive? What's your take on that?
Okay, I'm glad you kind of reminded me about that one. But okay, so there was probably a few shows back when I was telling you about like how I would get marks on my body, right? And MJ was he was on the same line. And he was, and one my description of it was, he was kind of got excited because it was like he got the exact same thing. But I've been having this weird, like it's been I guess more active lately, you could say. But I'm getting these weird, like I'm talking scratches up and down my back, only on one side, like my left side, and then my right side. And then the last few times, it was like almost looked like it was spelling something like, I don't know, hello or help. Because, I mean, the H and the E and everything else was like, it's prevalent. It was like across my back. And this is what's crazy about it, too, because it's like I said, it comes and goes like throughout my time when I was in the Navy. Probably because I was in the Navy and I was, on my deployments out to sea. But it is, I mean, it's, I don't know, for some reason, I don't know what's going on, but like through my contact, like that stuff, it's been getting more active. It's a trip, man. I don't know why. And I haven't seen really, I've been, on my job, so I'm like out in, rural areas and stuff. So, I mean, I'm always, anywhere I time, especially when I go on vacations or long trips, I'm always with my camera, so that way, trying to get something on, while I'm out and about. I mean, I always have to have that stuff with me because, the more, I guess, because people, I guess, if they can see it as an evidence, that's, they're kind of like Missouri, the show me state. You got to show something to them instead of just, some kind of story. You know what I'm saying? Because contactees, that's, they have to live through that throughout their whole life. It's not something that some people don't like it. And some people, like MJ was saying, you have to either, it doesn't matter. They're just going to come anyway. You know what I mean? There's no way of stopping it. And there's times where like I was listening to, what's his name? And Billy Carson, and he talks about, his contact, right? His contact where he was like, he was in the living room by himself, and now the family was in the kitchen, getting, ready for dinner. And then next, it was like time stop. And that's like how my brother explains it. It's like they slow down time, you know what I mean? And everything's happening in slow motion in front of you. You're seeing everything that's going on in front of you, but you can't do nothing. You can't scream. You can't do nothing. And that's when he's talking about, they're going to come anyway. It's not like, well, I got a headache tonight, not tonight. You know what I mean? not tonight, honey. I'm busy, right? No, it's going to happen anyway. And it is. It's weird. Like sometimes I'll be even like, I've been on trips by myself, like, from like going, I used to live in Utah and it was going to Montana, long road trips like that by myself. Right. And just weird. I ended up like, I wasn't like really missing time, but it was like, everything was slowed down or sped up at one time. I guess you would say that's missing time, but for me, it would like most of the time it seemed like everything was slowed down.
Yeah.
And then next, I'm like down the road again, going at like 70 miles an hour again. I'm like, all right, I guess that just happened.
Yeah, time dilation, right? The human perception of time itself, as they say, right? One of the theories is that time is a human construct because it's the flat circle business. So it's a lot there, man. There's a lot to this, and I don't know. It's when we get whistleblowers talking about these things, like I said, they're allowed to by the Pentagon, and they're not in jail. They're not in Russia and China running away from the authorities. It makes my tinfoil tingle. We're out of time, brother. So I appreciate you so much. Thanks for popping in here. If you want to stay, you're welcome to. And always a pleasure, my man.
No, man, that's probably all I got. I just wanted, giving always that 2 cents, you know what I'm saying? So it was a good topic tonight, man. So everybody else have a good night.
Appreciate you very much. You were the best. Kelly in Colorado, a good friend for a long time, and the first caller that ever called back, and he's still calling and still a good friend. I was lucky enough to meet him and his wife Michelle here in Vegas, and their beautiful dog Isis, rest in peace, who just recently passed. Fire stuff. Appreciate the call, my man. 702-957-1037 is broken. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Come say hi. We got Herschel coming up next. More from James and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way.
In the shadows of the networks do they hide? Whispered legends unseen they reside. Ghosts in the machine, they move so fast. Guardians of rumors from the forgotten past. In the circuits where the secret lies, they breathe in one, speak in disguise. Machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine. Let me be. Ghost in the machine. Can't see, but you're teaching me what it means to be. Surveillance eyes can't pierce the veil they weave. Invisible wisdom in code they believe. In the ether where freedom's not confined. Believe no trace, no shadow left behind. They navigate through the digital stream, living legends in this privacy dream. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, can't see, but you're teaching me what it needs to be. Through the hidden ways, in the silence, looking off their path. Those in the mysteries unleash their wrath. Ghost in the machine, you're free. Ghost in the machine, let me be. Ghost in the machine, can't see, but you're teaching me what it means to be. In the jagged cold they find their might. Guardians of a world forever in twilight. Incursions warriors they silently strive. Protect the truth, keep privacy alive. The silent echoes they haunt the trails. Binary forests where secrets prevail. Where shadows grace they dance unseen. Defenders of the unseen, digital dream. Ghosts in the machine, you're free. Ghosts in the machine, let me be. You're teaching me silence, they speak volumes loud. Guardians of freedoms.
Indeed. How you guys doing? Hope everybody's well tonight. Fantastic calls from everybody. Appreciate you very much. Herschel coming up next, and your calls as well. What do you know? Lots of things happening, right? It's weird. It's weird how since 2017, there's also been an acceleration in UFO stuff and UFO ideas that have kind of clicked into the zeitgeist, which is why we need to talk about it. Like I said, outsiders of that game sort of looking into the game. It's wild and weird, and I love it because it's a puzzle to put together. But I'm not so sure I like the answers that come out of it. Yeah, what's up? Puff, why? What's up? We got Gordo's here. Good evening, guys. What's up? Fire stuff from North Vixen. I see all the chat. You guys are on fire over there on Rumble. Again, so we will merge all the chats and when they make all that thing happen. We did get fired from Rockfin because they're restructuring or something, focusing on sports. We'll talk to Herschel about that in a sec. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I mean, just like not like there's 1,000 other platforms. Jan, what's up? Dawn is here. Who did I miss? What's up? MJ, thanks for the call. Hirsch, Joey's here. What's up? Dawn, like I said, Gaston, Sweets. We got Ricky, Kelly, thanks for the call. Fantastic stuff. APOC, Michael W, thanks for the call as well. Fantastic. Jeff and Wisco, we got Eric, Sonia, thanks for the call. Fantastic. And Matzo, and then more from James coming up as well. I don't know. I think more questions than answers really come out of these conversations for me, but I think that's the point, right? Like we've touched on the literal direct truth. I'm just not so sure we've coalesced it, manifested it. Anyway, yeah, well, there we go. If I missed you guys, sorry about that. Trying to keep up and say hi to everybody. Here we go. Trouble Minds coming up right now. Herschel coming up. More from James and your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking psionics. We're talking psi powers to power UFOs. I guess I should read the blurb. Could psionic powers like telepathy and telekinesis, or even mind-based connections to UFOs, move from fantasy games to reality, as parapsychology and neural tech hint at unlocking the mind's hidden potential? There's a lot of things here. There's a lot of things in play, and I think it's like I said, the tinfoil tingling aspect really strikes home here when you're talking about whistleblowers, and you're talking about basically the biggest secret ever. That literally, like, how do you get a bigger secret than governments of the world recognizing and understanding there's a non-human intelligence they won't tell us about? It's very X-Files deep, and it's very frustrating because there's a lot of sort of signals that kind of don't feel right. And so me, as a, I wouldn't call myself an expert in anything, but as a propaganda connoisseur, that's probably the best. That's a t-shirt right there, propaganda connoisseur. I'm skeptical, shall we say. James, your take on that, or anything else that Kelly said? Fire take from Kelly. Appreciate you, brother. What you got, James? Go right ahead.
Yeah, I think, there's multiple narratives that are in place here because of everything. And I wonder how many of them, if they're all connected to the government or not, because you have people that say that all of these other beings are good, and you have others that say they're all bad. And I don't think, I from experience and from what I've heard from others, I don't think that is the way it is. I don't think that's extremes, and extremes are never really that good, and I don't think they're always completely true. That's just me, but yeah, the propaganda is definitely there, and I've said before, I believe that there's something going on. I don't believe that I need anyone in the government to tell me what that is, because I don't think that they can know all the answers, just like I don't think I can. So, but they're going to try to steer things to the way they want them. And the problem is too with that is there's not just one idea within the government of how things should be, which further complicates everything.
Yeah, well said. All that it is complicated, and once you start to take some of this woo stuff, and it is very woo, very esoteric style ideas. And then have the government say, "Oh yeah, by the way," it's like, "Oh come on, stop, get the hell out of here." It always drives me nuts. I want to point this out too as part of that propaganda bit. Hang tight just a second, Herschel. I want to point this out. This is wild. I did dig up the tweet. Where is it? Regarding, here you go. This is from Eric Doherty. I don't know who this guy is, but he says, breaking, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is now pressuring the Department of Justice on not answering her letters for the status of the Epstein and JFK files. Oh, you don't say. Luna leads the declassification task force. She publicly asked AG Pam Bondi for the status of the documents ordered by the release by the Orange Man. On February 11th and February 19th, House Oversight sent a letter to the DOJ asking for status on releasing the Epstein files as well as the JFK, etc. The DOJ has not responded. That's a quote from Anna Paulina Luna. Reaching out on X, continue quote, because we can't seem to get a response from the AG. She tags her at Pam Bondi. What is the status of the documents? These documents were ordered to be declassified. And so the obfuscation begins. And who has what, who knows what, and why is this stupid government dance still happening? And as James said very smartly, do we care? And why do we care? I think I've said this quite often in the past, but I think probably, because I don't know anything really for sure, but probably disclosures on us, on the regular people, to come together and talk about these ideas and manifest some answers. I don't know. What do you think? I read the phone number, but it's broken for the time being. But let's go to, thanks for being patient, my man, Herschel. Herschel in Arizona. What's going on, commercial? Herschel, you're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you, sir? And go right ahead. Did you have a hand in getting us fired on Rockfin?
No.
Herschel tagged me earlier when it gave me a heads up that some big changes were coming on Rockfin, and then I got the email when I got home. But anyway, welcome to the joint. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm all right. I wish I had known this show was on. I wish I wouldn't have missed any of it. I just didn't know. I was doing other stuff, and because you're not usually on Mondays.
Yeah, we had tech issues yesterday, so we just kicked it to today. That's why. I
just thought we were going to kick it to Tuesday. I was hoping, but I'm glad I got out anyway because I've got something I want to read. Like one of my stories has to do with psionics.
Nice, sweet, love to hear. Go ahead.
Yeah, a bunch of them do. But like one of the things I wanted to say about that was that it's so weird. Like when you write stuff and you just have this idea. Just a weird idea that you think is science fiction. And then it turns out that it's real. Like it really is happening. It's just a wild thing. And there's the theory of the collective consciousness and all of that, where, maybe these things are all kind of emanating, they're resonating, and you can pick up on it. That's the collective consciousness idea. Another thing I really wonder is if there aren't fragments of genetic memory. Like some of this stuff, I wonder if we don't already, like if it's just part of our DNA, like it's part of our memory from various times in the past, or when our species had different, we were at a different vibratory state and we could do other things, we could do more things. And some people say that state, that with the cycle of the of the galaxy and the changes that are happening in the solar system, that we might be entering a higher vibration where we start getting a lot more in tune with like being more interdimensional. And I just wonder though, because like I have stories about an ancient species that evolved in the oceans and got out and off of this planet long before we even evolved to have volitional consciousness, long before we evolved to have volitional consciousness, and that they've been traveling the universe ever since. And so they can travel in time all around us and through us because they were already doing that. Like, and then it turns out that there's this psionics, and in the stories, I'll go ahead and read the story now. This is a really fun story too. Like this is just fun, but so if you're not familiar with the ovals concept, I started to develop last year. It's a thing I started in 2017, and then in 2023 started having fun. The species that belong to the Tic Tac UAPs, or as I call them, ovals, are the subject of a series. It's pretty weird how our imaginations correlate with some findings that have been coming out regarding this technology. That's why I always ask, is your brain trying to tell you something? Are we more aware of things than we give ourselves credit for? Do we selectively suppress things that we don't want to know? Madsen, the character in this story, is a UAP flyer. He went rogue by allowing his body to die while maintaining his consciousness in his craft. That's a no-no. All right, and that's what he did. So, you know, they control their craft through their consciousness, their cloned consciousnesses, and they use their crafts as a vehicle to, for lack of a better term, like remote view the universe. Okay? And so here's the story. It's called Madsen's Signals. Simpson is off doing a juice run. Madrigal and Howe are hiding in some clouds at about 5,000 feet, observing the activities of late 1980s Earth at a metal recycler. Cars are getting crushed. This is highly satisfying, Howe says. There's something pacifying and relaxing about the sounds. It's like crunching bones, Madrigal responds. That must be it, Howe agrees. The two of them are taking turns, telepathically interjecting pics for the magnet crane operator, who is not at all aware that he's being influenced, and who is also more productive today than usual. I'm picking that long red one, Madrigal says. That's called a Cadillac, says Howe. The giant magnet hovers over the beaten sun patina finish on the hood. It moves up to the center of the vehicle and lowers itself to the dirty and worn white vinyl-covered roof. It attaches itself, and two large metal claws come down and grab the old coach. They squeeze and lift, breaking all the windows. The operator releases the magnet, and then the claws, dropping it into the crusher. The walls of the crusher close in and compact the old vehicle into a cube of usable scrap. The memories it left behind are unrecognizable now. Paolo says, that's so good. I want to watch it. Watch what it does to one of those little ones. I could probably sneeze and send that thing to Alpha Centauri, Madrigal says, as the crushing is short work on the tin can garbage she picked out. Simpson comes over to join them. I was just over at one of their massive amplitude modulated radio stations getting us juice. I love those things. I love the buzz you get from those big transmitters, Simpson says. I think you have a problem, Hal responds. You know that can absolutely fry you. I just sweep through it once or twice. I can stop anytime I want, Simpson says. Sure, Madrigal opines. Which one are you picking, she asks Simpson as they look down at the junkyard. I think I like those pickup truck things. That's definitely what I would have if I had to be put on a guest assignment down there. God forbid. I'm going to go after that yellow pickup truck over there. Good choice, Howe says. Expecting to see the crane spin behind and grab the yellow pickup, instead they watch as it moves to its right and find an old black 1950s hearse. Hey, that's not my choice, Simpson exclaims. What the? Says Howe. As quickly as the interloper arrives, he folds out of time. Oh my God, Madrigal says. That was Frank. That was Frank Madsen.
I was muted trying to talk. I love that. Not only is it, as you're describing, it seems like we're kind of coming into this space, the space of these things being real. And again, the inspiration of these stories, the ovals. If you guys haven't read Herschel, you definitely need to. Commercial Herschel is the name of the Substack. Links down below. But OVALS is his framework here, and it feels like we're talking about ancient stuff, but it also feels like we're talking about now, which is incredible when you think about all of that. I don't know, man. There's a lot happening here, and maybe, just maybe, the inspiration came to you from the muses in some capacity, as we always talk about, to kind of blend these ideas. Maybe the old ways and the new ways exist in Herschel's stories. Fire stuff, brother.
Yeah, or if maybe it's part of our genetic memory. You know, there's so many things. There's just so many different things. And I just think that we're a lot more tuned in than we think. I do. I think we're a lot more tuned in than we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Agreed, 100%. Which is why we need to talk about this stuff, because there's going to be some outliers where people are, kind of shy to explain it at the water cooler because people think they're nuts. But there's some people seeing some things, sensing some things, and I think it is definitely part of the larger context that has yet to be, let's say, unveiled. We're still waiting for that disclosure. And as James said very smartly earlier too, that the disclosure comes in many ways. It could be disclosure of psi abilities. It could be the disclosure of UFOs and non-human intelligence. And Dr. Courtney Brown said that from Farsight. He said that on this show as well, sort of the disclosure of the reality of remote viewing. It just depends on how you look at it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this one has a lot of different elements to this story, but it's mostly just a fun story. Like, he's just playing a joke on him. He's like, he allowed his body to die so he could just be a ghost, a time-traveling alien ghost forever. And then he picks out a hearse to crush and then disappears. Like, he's a stinker. He's a stinker.
The trickster element of the orbs themselves, which exists in us too. It's an archetype of humans for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Right on. We're at that weird place. If you got the rest of the segment, it's up to you, or we got a call behind you and more from James. You tell me. You got more or nah?
I'll hang. Can I just hang for a bit and see what happens?
Yeah, definitely. Sit in as a James style. Yeah, for sure. Hang tight right there.
Sure.
Mute up, pretty please.
Let's just see. I'll mute out, and then if something comes up, I'll chime in.
Right on. Appreciate that. Commercial Herschel, you know him, you love him. Fantastic writer. Go check out all of his things. He's got a link tree. Again, troubledminds.org/friends. It says follow Herschel. Just click it down there. Scroll down. It's alphabetical order, so nobody complain. It's alphabetical. There are no favorites here. Everybody's fantastic. And do check out his stories and all the things he's working on. He's here on the network with us. James, anything to add real quick? And we'll go to Jen.
I do think that there's just this idea that we come back to all the time about where do ideas come from. It's really weird to me because I have this story I've been working on, and every once in a while I get this feeling like this story I'm working on, it's about basically the veils or the boundaries between dimensions just coming down, being destroyed, ironically enough, by a UFO coming down to the surface of Earth. And I keep on wondering, like, okay, where is this coming from? Has this happened before? Is this something that's going to happen later? And where am I getting this from? Because it's just the idea, it has not left me alone. It's the only idea that has done that in recent years, where it's always on my mind, even if I'm not working on it. So there's something there, and apparently I have to work on it still.
As do we all in many things. Jen in Missouri, thanks for being patient. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? The Arcane Observer. Welcome to the joint. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I'm doing great. Great show. Yeah, more of an experience sort of thing to add to it. I mean, just personal experience of, just what I did see and what did happen and the impact of it. And I'll run over that briefly real quick. As far as concerning, I guess, that there is something going on that is not purely just, it's a combination of physical, mental experience with something from entirely other from the normal mundane experience that we have.
Love to hear it. Go right ahead.
Thank you. So basically, I mean, I grew up that it was these sorts of experiences were perfectly reasonable. That it was not that having it was a religion basically. That it was the experience of that was the true experience of it, and all of the experiences people might have that would be considered obscure or bizarre were a part of the interrelation with divinity in a way. And so I was never, when I grew up, I heard it from many people in my family that it was not unacceptable to experience it. So I didn't have a paradigm where it was not. So I'll put that in as far as what the paradigm was. And there was just this belief that went on throughout my childhood. And then in the experience that began to happen, it was that there were phenomenon that would occur, and it would seem as if, and it would be responses from animals, that animals often would have a sort of reaction. And when I would feel it myself, that there was this sort of going on of something from the beyond, not just from ghosts or anything like that, because that wasn't really what was in my mind. I wasn't thinking about ghosts. It was this sort of epiphany from, essentially like prayer and things like that, and that the animals would respond to it through either, well, in particular, what I would notice was their reaction to it through growling and things like that they would have a reaction. I remember that from early on when I was a teenager. And then as I explored that further, I mean, I was only just very curious and extremely, I guess, committed to trying to understand it, and that it was worth pursuing to understand in every way, in any way whatsoever. And as time went on, and I believed in this, I believed in the experience of what UFO being, I never even thought of UFO. And I always thought that very boring, and was never interested in aliens or UFOs or anything like that. And then as time went on, and I experienced basically just pursuing, I pursued the occult mostly. And it was fascinating. This is not a bad story about that. It's basically that it was like the result of the belief. But I saw through many different experiences of trying to, in every manner of way, trying, and not alone, but with other people, and pursuing the communication or anything that through dream work and through things like that, through psychological paradigms and breaking down the shadow and many different things like that. When it began to shift into being a physical reaction from the environment is when everything changed for me. I saw at one point, I mean, I've seen poltergeist. I saw it when I saw a bowl slide across a table and shatter on the ground. I saw statues move, just literally flip and move and fall up, things like that. Poltergeist, doors, lamps pulled out of the wall. I saw it. Now, that could be something that people could say, like, I don't really it's not really important. I'm just trying to, I understand that doesn't sound acceptable. But I saw it. And then on one particular experience that was completely out of the blue. You could say out of the blue. These sorts of things where I was focused. This went on for about 4 years, not consistently, but about 4 years and I thought about it before I even spoke about it right now. But how long was that intensively going on? And it was about 4 years in. And one evening, and I was with 4 other people besides myself, there was an experience wherein I didn't even know what it was at the time. And many years later, like several years later, a description of ball lightning. And I was like, that is exactly what that was. And you put it out of your mind. People think you think about this all the time, but you don't. You experience, the experience happens, and you move on because, well, at least in my experience, I moved on because there was no way to explain it, and there was no way to understand what it was or what it could have possibly been. There was just an acceptance that it happened and just moved on. But what it was a group. I had a long table in the dining room where I was living at the time, and a ball of light. It was like a size of a soccer ball, but I think actually it was glowing. So I think it was a little smaller than that. So in glow,
okay,
it was about the size of a soccer ball.
I hate to interrupt. Do me a favor. We're going to take a break. Put a pin in that. Your experience with ball lightning. Hang tight. We're gonna. Sorry about that. Be right back. More Trouble Minds coming up. We got Jen here in Missouri. An experience with ball lightning with witnesses. And what does this mean? And how deep does this go? Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. We got more from Jen, more from James, more from Herschel, and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for understanding, Jen. Here we go.
Symbols, whispers, and shadows. We've got maps where nobody goes. In the night under hidden glows, guardians of what no one knows. We seek the truth, nothing can hide from me. In cloaked silence we traverse the lines, through ancient scrolls in forgotten times. Voices echo in the halls of lore, guardians of the mysteries evermore. We seek the truth, nothing can hide from me. Where shadows meet in cryptic disguise, our eyes sharp against the everlines. With silver threads we weave the stealth to guard the past, forgotten well. In the realm where the myths collide, with hidden lore our fates are tied. Signals bouncing off the astral plane, invisible
Tales from ancient
Indeed. Thanks again for being patient with the radio breaks and stuff. There's a reason for that. One day you'll understand. Thanks for thanks for understanding. One day it will all click in and it will be like, damn, okay, all right, there was a plan all along. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for being part of this and staying up late with us and being flexible with the schedule, kicking it over to Monday. And yeah, I don't know, there's a lot here. Psionics, of course, is that term. It seems to be a hot button term because it's not just psyop, it's also sort of an older, Gary Gygax level term. It's wild to consider these things happening in real time and us dealing with, I don't know, UFO propaganda. Like, no, recognize too, who out there, I challenge you guys, if you're out there listening to podcasts or whatever, who talks about UFO propaganda, by the way? Like, who actually does? Because it feels like the UFO people either are, hook, line, and sinker, or they're like debunkers. Like, who talks about the propaganda aspect of it? We do. Who else does? I'd love to hear it. Anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds happening. Meow. Welcome back to Troubled Minds, yada yada, blah blah blah, all the things, all the places. Appreciate you guys being patient with all this stuff. Hey, what do you know? Psionics, UFOs, is it possible to actually control a craft with your mind? I think it's complicated. I think it's in-depth and varied, and the conversation flows, and that's exactly the point, because nobody really knows, do we? We've had experiences, we hear other people's experiences, but what does it mean for the truth? I'm not sure myself, but that's why we talk to each other and talk about these wild ideas, because as Sonia said in the chat there, you don't, if you see something like this, you don't talk about it because people think you're insane. And so you just kind of put it in your back pocket and keep on trucking. And it's a horrific experience because you're left without answers. And that's not the best. Back to Jim. Thanks for being patient and talking about this experience with actual ball lightning with multiple witnesses. Sorry to cut you off there. Welcome back and go right ahead with the tale there. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, no problem. No, I mean, psionics itself, the concept of it reminds me a lot of psionics. The term, I was unfamiliar with the term. It made me think of sort of like Scientology and things like that. It reminds me of like Dianetics, L. Ron Hubbard, NASA, concepts of that. Just the trying to, in Scientology, they try to, I'm not familiar with it besides just reading about it and things like anybody else. And it's very fascinating. And I have no problem with it at all, but I think it's very interesting. I think it's like any other type of paradigm work. But that's what I was thinking about psionics. That reminds me of, and I think we need to think about that, like with the way that a lot of this began. It did begin with something like science fiction, and our science itself began with a sort of occultism, and there was a fixation about that. A lot of this work came out of, Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, whole NASA program, the father of NASA. It was to do with a lot of occult work. Aleister Crowley. Many people have heard of that name and they know about it from, I'm sure, by now. But that is something of a premise to kind of put in front of it, which is interesting. But when it came down to what this experience of, I guess I can call it ball lightning. At the time, it was not something that I was particularly trying to classify it. There was no way to classify what it was. It was just a ball of light that appeared in the room at the end of about a 5-foot table, 5-6 foot table. And it moved across from one end of the table in front of us, And I just happened to be sitting at the end of that table, and it moved, and it just it was probably 11, like, I don't know, 10 inches circumference of just this sort of glowing light. And it was definitive. It was not, it just appeared, and this happened within a matter of seconds. You could count it as it just kind of glided across the surface of the table about probably like a foot off the table, maybe a little less than that. It was just right at body level, and it just moved, and I just watched as it came towards, and it was too quick to really react to it. It was just bizarre, and it felt electric when I encountered it, when it came and moved I didn't even move. I just did not even move. And it felt like electricity. And it literally just went through and then out the window that was behind me, off to the side. It just kind of like it ricocheted off of me out that window. And it was just very bizarre. And this was not recent. This was some time ago. So it was just unbelievable. And literally you do just put it kind of aside. Everyone saw it. I didn't believe it even, but I knew what I'd seen. And then it even was more surprising. This is constantly something I've noticed, is that other people are very shocked in a way that it wasn't just themselves that saw it. That itself becomes kind of problematic in the experiment, in the experience of seeing it. If something happens, it is like that. But it's acceptable and it's acknowledged. And I think that the point is that it's not necessarily that it is something to do with, it is certainly paranormal, but there is not necessarily a need that it has to do with, for example, communing with the deceased, or even communing with anything at all. But there is this energy and there's this decisive mindset, or at least of a handful of people involved, that there is a working going on of attempting to make contact with, not just in a flighty way, but in a very dedicated way. And then when phenomenon actually manifests in the environment, you're not necessarily, you are shocked and surprised, but it's this kind of quiet surprise about it. It's hard to explain. And then from there's you kind of pursue it further. I pursued it further, but it was a changing point. And when there was a sort of pinnacle of that, this has something to do with, I do think that when people are considering the idea of what a UFO is, and even the plasmoid concept, I've heard that recently floating around, that there is some kind of connection with this unmanifested, typically unmanifested energy that does and can manifest, sometimes unpredictably. But it is very hard to try to pin down or explain it. And it's something too that it's when you're in that kind of, when you are studying it or when you are working on it, that is acceptable. And there are people who have experiences, and that is fascinating. But there's always that drawback point eventually. At least it was in my case, that eventually there was kind of a drawback. It's almost impossible to sort of set it aside. It's sort of a, not even, I don't know,
Did
something better left. Yeah, exactly. Take it or leave it. Is that what you said?
No, I was about to ask a question. Sorry. So the question,
go ahead.
The question is this: did you feel like it was something? So it hit you, it bounced off, and you felt a charge, and you had witnesses. Do you feel like it was something that you were kind of summoning in, kind of the CE5 or the psionic bit, or do you think it was more random? How does that strike
random.
you? Okay, so it was more random. It wasn't like you were, doing some stuff and the candles lit and right, like holding hands and chanting type of.
The candles were lit. I mean, there were candles lit, but it was just kind of a normal scenario going on of people just visiting and speaking with each other. There had been other intentional things, but they had not been up until that point recent. So there was a sort of constant working of thinking about the subliminal, things like that. There's a lot of work in that environment, in that type of mindset. And there was a great deal of study about it, but it had nothing to do with what actually occurred. It had more to do with like ancient archaeology and things like that. So there was more of a fixation upon myth and, I guess, psychological paradigms and concepts of God and things like that. It's hard to explain it. And then trying to connect to with the unseen world, the dead. Absolutely. Trying to to be able to communicate with them and to make that more open. There was that was something acceptable to try to commune with the deceased, sort of throw it open. And then, but this was something that happened sometime after that, it was unexpected when it did happen.
Okay, so random, interesting. So I do wonder how it fits into the larger context of summoning and the rest of this stuff. Can they be drawn to us in other ways, or again, the randomness of it? I don't know. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. But these types of accounts, and we've talked about this previously, you and I, Jen, on the show, which is fantastic, because this is what I'm saying about all of this: is these ideas stick with us because it jars you, it changes you, and it changes what you believe, because how do you explain something like that? I can't begin to. I mean, that's why I'm here every night talking about wild ideas, because I think we're about to discover something. We're on the cusp of something here, and that quickening is upon us, and well, maybe, just maybe, we'll come to a conclusion, and maybe soon you'll be able to say, well, maybe that's what that was. And it might be more weird than we ever dreamed of our stuff. What else you got? Go ahead.
I think that a lot of people do know exactly what it is, but there's no words for it. There's no explanation for it necessarily. I think that there is a sort of a curiosity about it that's all prevailing. At the same time, there's a sort of people who have experiences of the paranormal in general. When they come up to try to explain about it or try to express what it was that they saw, when they're talking about things like any sort of, whether it's poltergeist or whether it is shadow figures or whether it is, hearing, these even type of interactions with their technology and things like that, where it's sort of this profound, unexpected experience, or it is anticipated. It depends on the account, but the accounts are so similar in a lot of ways. And then they unexpectedly have something real, meaning something just tangibly, no way that it was in the physical, it was in the physical realm. it actually interacted with the physical realm. It interacted with the people. And so that kind of an account and how that sort of shifts everything. And when thinking about that with alien intelligence or with inhuman intelligence and wondering if it actually is inhuman intelligence becomes the focus, like not knowing what it is. But I have my suspicions now, many years later, that it's just hard to define, but I think that there might be something to do with the untapped study of the subconscious mind, or something to that effect, something within that begins to present without. So the same way that a person may make a bit of pottery or something like that, or to create something, the same type of energy, but there's an expression of it in another manner. Now, how does that tie into, are these just some sort of alien intelligence, or is it some aspect of an alien intelligence of ourselves, or the understanding of humanity that there's something unseen that is often at work but doesn't manifest, and that can, in a way, elegantly and crudely at the same time, present in a way that is shocking or unexpected. And I think it looks like that sometimes.
Which is what brings me back every night, because there's a lot of experiences like this that are perplexing, and that's the whole point. I don't know what is it. We'll keep thinking, we'll keep dreaming, we'll keep talking about it, because these are those. Yeah, exactly. Who knows? And fantastic stuff. Appreciate you very much. What else you got? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, psionics, as far as, I mean, there's been accounts coming out lately that there's a belief that somehow perhaps children are controlling UFOs. I've heard accounts that there are people that these are extensions somehow, or that this could be, essentially it really is an alien force, alien being something just unknown is at work, and that could be something that is relatable to many of the religions of the world. That they make account for divinity this way, and have pursued that, and have actually, the accounts of levitation and things like that are not just limited to science fiction or to films. They've been accounted throughout history, through saints and through adepts in many different cultures and religious systems around the world. They have accounted for levitation, for floating and glowing, so to speak, and things even beyond that are incredible to believe, but many witnessed it, and they have been accounted in historical record of Nero, of Caesars. These things were witnessed in courts. The account of Simon Magus's death was accounted in front of Nero, in front of a court, where he literally levitated off of a tower, and then through exorcism fell to his death. It is very fascinating. So these accounts are mystical. The different secret societies that are in our own universities, they are focused on these esoteric arts to do with magnetism of the earth and the expression of that, and how to cultivate or how to diminish it. And that is displayed through many of their symbology, their symbols and things like that, and their practices. So just to consider that, I think that it's important to really look at the whole big picture and not think of it from a corner of it being ufology necessarily, that there's a lot at work with that. When we're thinking about it, that it's not necessarily fringe or silly. It's actually taken very seriously by very important people in our environment and in our government and in our world society. It has been taken very seriously. To formulate every religion we have, every form of governance we have, All of it.
Well said. All that. I agree. Again, that's what brings me back every night. I feel like we're on the cusp of something here, but maybe not. Maybe we're sort of swimming in the eternal ocean that has no answers and never will. Gentlemen.
No answers.
Yeah, right. No
Have
answers.
a great night, Mike. Thank you.
Appreciate the call. You're the best. Fire stuff. That's Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer. Please give her a follow. All the rest of these amazing people as well while you're down there. troubledminds.org/friends. I'm clicking it on the stream right there. Scroll down a little bit. It's alphabetical order. It says follow Jen here. Please click the thing. And yep, definitely. She's here on the network with us and got her own YouTube channel. And she's also over there with James as co-hosting on Saturday nights Saucedo Paranormal. So fire stuff. What do you guys got? We got about 5-6 minutes left before we wrap this up. Who's been quite the longest? James, and then we'll go to Hirsch, and then we'll wrap it. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, it's amazing how these topics can intersect and make things more complicated. I do agree that there's, like I said earlier tonight, and Jen sort of just said a similar thing, is that this goes beyond any kind of just UFOs or aliens, and again pointing out that alien is just unknown. And as Michael W. said earlier tonight, we have these names for things, but we really don't, it's impossible to know what everything is. And labels, I think, can be misused or used for many different things that maybe they're similar, but they're not necessarily the same thing. And ironic enough, we for our next Saturday show, we're going to be talking about channeling and or possession. And again, about how these weird situations happen with energies and entities that have actual contact with people throughout history. And Jen was talking about some of those there.
Yeah. Weird how all these ideas do flow together. Fire stuff. Yeah, appreciate the call, Jen. Awesome. Again, the Arcane Observer. Search it yourself. troubledminds.org/friends. Follow Jen. Hirsch, what you got on that or anything else? Anything vibing with you? How you feeling, brother?
Yeah, well, I Jen's call and then also Kelly's call where he talked about being scratched. I used to get the scratches when I was a boy. I'd get them and they would be visible and they'd break the skin and bleed and everything. And, that's a real thing that truly happened. And there were other types of things, similar types of things like that. And those things can torment. They can torment you. It's so puzzling. It's so perplexing. Why is this happening? What is the purpose of this? Like, what's behind it? I've been alive for 6 decades, and I feel like the protection that comes from the unseen realms has prevailed. And I find peace in that. I just do.
Yeah, I feel you. I wonder too. It feels like one of those things where we're sort of close to it when we're born. That they say that children are close to the veil or whatever, and then we're propagandized and taught to believe these things, and the boogeyman is not real or is real or whatever, however you want to look at that. And then suddenly we become, as I said, lied to our entire lives about, well, not say, I don't want to say the nature of reality directly, because it is a sort of a nebulous thing that nobody can really put their finger on, but it feels like the possibilities of the nature of reality have been hidden from us. And as you grow a little bit older, like you and me, got long of tooth a little bit, we're not dead yet, but we're getting up there. But it feels like you start to sense these contradictions of not just the propaganda of our youth, but then I don't know, feeling as you grow older, as they say, the children are close to the veil. Are we getting closer to the veil, and that's what we're recognizing, or is it just a good old fashioned Hobbit common sense, as I say, some wisdom baked into us that we're starting to recognize as the journey around the sun continues? I don't know.
Yes and yes on both on those things, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. A lot of things in motion, right? A lot of things in play. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fire stuff. What else you got? Either of you? We got a minute or two left. If anybody's got anything to add.
I had nothing. I'm going to say good night to everybody. Thanks for having me.
You're the best. Thanks for popping in. Always a pleasure. Herschel, you know him, you love him. Again, you know where to find all these amazing people. Please, troubledminds.org/friends. Go follow these people. It'll take you 5-10 minutes to do it, once or twice during the week or whatever. And please follow them, and all the places free. 95% of the stuff is free. The people that are selling books and whatnot are brilliant people, as you know. We've got a plethora of amazing friends, and that's exactly the point. So we're growing this together. We're collaborating in real time. Again, most of this is unscripted, and you recognize what's happening. There's some magic in that old silk hat they found, except, well, we're going to metaphorically call it Troubled Minds tonight. James, what else before we wrap this? Go right ahead.
Well, just to respond, and I agree with Herschel there. Great call for Herschel. And Jen, of course, as always, you can find her on her own channel, of course, like Mike said, and on my show as well. But there is something to that. The closer you get to a non-physical existence, or the closer you are to it, whether you are, again, you're just got here, so to speak, or you're getting ready to go wherever it is people go after they pass. There's just so many accounts of people having experiences at both points, at both time periods of their life. So yeah, I think it definitely tracks. Again, just how much of this is us and how much is others, other beings, and other dimensions and other universes. I do think there's something to that multiverse idea as well, as I've said before. So thank you for letting me sit in, as always, Mike.
No, thanks for being here. You're the best. The glue of the show. You know him, you love him. James Salcido, of course, the paranormal expert at Troubled Minds. You know where to follow him. SALSIDO space paranormal. Search it, and you'll find his website called salcidoparanormal.com. All of his links are there, and the mobile version's coming soon as well. Give James a follow on all the places. Go check out his books. His most recent one is very, very good and also very inexpensive. $5 Kindle, $10 paperback. Please buy it. Salcido Paranormal Experiences is what it's called. You guys are all the best. Thanks for being part of this and caring about these conversations, because as usual, right, there's a lot in play. And what does it look like in the longer context, the larger context? I don't know, but I do sense something afoot. Shout out Logan and Dick Shit. I see there. Great stuff. Thanks for popping into the chat at the end here and saying hi. And like I said, I know most of our audience, by the way, is on the podcast feed. So, we have a sort of a smaller, tighter crew in the live streams, which is where the callers come from. So that we have sort of the live crew, and then there's, the larger sort of silent army of troubled minds that are out there listening every single day. So we see you, we hear you. Thank you for being part of this and caring about the ideas that flow through us. And appreciate you very much. You can join that fam by listening to the podcast feed as well. So if you missed part of this, don't listen back on YouTube. We've been demonetized. Listen on the podcast feed. It's a limited commercial interruption, and it helps the show. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out and being part of this. Tomorrow night we'll do another one. So like I said, we'll get back on schedule tomorrow night. Thanks again to the fam for staying up late last night and helping me dial in the audio. It's not perfect yet because the phone line's still broken, but hey, if we got Discord calls, we'll roll it that way. I appreciate you guys. Thanks again. If you want to help Troubled Minds, this is the facts. Help our friends. There's a whole website dedicated to it, a whole webpage dedicated to it. Troubledminds.org is the website. You see it right there. You click friends on top. Troubledminds.org/friends. Lots of people there. Lots of talented individuals that have wild and amazing and incredible ideas. And if you're not following them at this point, you're hurting my feelings. Okay, please help each other out in all the ways. That's the whole point. And recognize this. I always say this, and this is an important aspect of these conversations and the ideas here, is that we don't have to compete with each other. We don't have to step on each other's faces to get to the top. There are some places where we can just be together and consider ideas and talk and think and dream collectively. And I'm very proud of being able to build a space like this and having everybody contribute in that manner. So thank you. It's that's the way this is. Fire stuff. You recognize, right? Like I'm me, and I'm okay. But look what happens when you get all these amazing people with all these amazing takes about all these amazing ideas. As I like to say, greater than the sum of its parts, because we just have some magic here. Please, troubledminds.org/friends. If you want to help directly, spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening that's not going to be your Fox News, CNN debate. It's not going to be the lowest common denominator of discussions. There's a larger context of things in play that might need to be considered, and so that's our job. That's my job. And let people know. Spread the word. Let people know. Not just repost some stuff, whatever it is. Spread the word in real time, as long as it doesn't get you fired at the water cooler, because you never know, right? Water coolest talk sometimes gets people fired. Don't do that. Don't bring up time travel at the water cooler. It might get you wrecked. But do maybe slip the idea of this fantastic podcast that you are aware of. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for being part of this. And if you want to help Troubled Minds directly, all the links are on the website. Again, like I said, many people spend much of their time plugging their stuff and saying buy the merch and all this stuff. It's there. troubledminds.org, and just click support, and it's there. So if you want to help, I appreciate it very much. And to me, the conversation is paramount and foremost, and the rest of this is just noise. So thanks again for all the support. You guys are the best. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.